If you're a woman and you're not on the dating apps or out there, if not putting yourself out there, this is the time. Like, there are more single men than single women. The odds are in your favor.
33% of the top guys being dated by 66% of all the women. Guys are disadvantaged. So there are 67% of guys who are just not qualifying for any relationship.
So if you're not connecting with your significant other, that's a good place to start. Having those heart-to-heart conversations that are just hard to have, but just being really open and honest about your needs and what you need. Open your mouth and talk about it. Like, what do we say? Closed mouths don't get fed. You don't want to have all your eggs in one basket. If you're dating multiple people and something doesn't work out with one of them, you're going to be like, okay, moving on. I still have all these other guys that are amazing that are in my rotation.
In 50 years, there are going to be the type of people who are excuse makers. They're going to be the people dating robots with AI in it.
Don't waste anyone's time to pretending to be casual when you're looking for a long-term commitment. Be fully transparent and always remember, you can't say the wrong thing to the right person. What's meant for you will never pass you by. I'm a strong believer of that.
Sublime Podcast.
Guys, watch the episode with Erin Hill, coming shortly. And then we'll be back for our questions and also learn a bit more. Welcome, guys. Still second season Sublime Podcast. And today, the topic is dating advice, dating experiences, everything about dating. And I believe I have a really interesting crowd that can share their experiences and come up with their own twists and their own ideas about dating specifically. Some of them, Erin Hill is here with us. You remember her from our previous season, and she was giving really interesting advice. And that time we got a few more folks who are here to share their experiences and question and discuss the advice that Erin gives. But what's more interesting is that Erin today is not just a dating coach, sleeping coach, and casting director, but also she's a book author. And Erin will talk about her book in a tiny bit. Before we go into this, I want you folks to introduce yourself. Tell me your name, how old were you when you started dating, and what do you do now? Erin, you go.
Thank you for that sweet introduction. I'm so excited to be back. Yes, my name is Erin Hill. I'm married 12 years, have 2 little ones. And I would say I started dating kind of late. I would say I was probably a freshman in college. Yeah, I grew up in Kentucky, and so we were a very conservative family. So I would say about that, kind of late.
Cool. Julia.
Hi, my name is Yulia. I prefer Yulia. I started dating. I would consider I started dating when I first downloaded Tinder. So 20 years old. What I do now, I still dating. But also I'm a self-proclaimed artist, digital artist and designer. So yeah.
Hi, I'm Karaya Garcia. My first real relationship, I would actually say, was kind of late too. It wasn't freshman year in college, but I would say I started dating, not seriously, but at 16. And I do screenwriting. That's much better. I do screenwriting, photography, and I'm a film critic on YouTube. Queen K Reviews.
Awesome. Yeah, we had an episode with Karaya specifically on movies, on reviews, on all the wonderful world of getting into the director's mindset and so on. Yeah. So check it out. There will be a link here.
What do we consider dating? Because I might change my answer.
Yeah, same.
Yeah. Like just interested in dating or like a serious relationship?
Okay.
Like
specifically what
if your parents dropped you off at the movie theater with the boy, does that count?
No, I think when somebody else does this for you, it's not like conscious dating. What I meant is when you specifically decided to spend time with a romantic partner for the purpose of pursuing a relationship.
Like your first relationship.
Well, dating might lead to a relationship, but not always.
Okay.
And you know better, of course, than me.
Yes.
What I want to start with today is statistics. 34% of women and a whopping of 63% of men are single. So basically, there are twice as many single guys as there are single girls. To me, if we do the math, if there are 34% of women single, then there are 66% of women who are not single. So they believe they are in a relationship.
If you're a woman and you're not on the dating apps or out there, if not putting yourself out there, this is the time. Like there are more single men than single women. So the odds are in your favor. Like get out there. You know what I mean?
What about the quality though?
Absolutely. I mean,
different
still have your
conversation.
standards high and still, have your deal breakers and those kinds of things, but still get out there, still get off your phone, make eye contact, when you're out in public. Yeah, make yourself available and be emotionally available. We talked about that, go to therapy, get your issues, get advice for
Under
what you're
control,
going
yeah.
through, and be emotionally available.
How come that you mentioned quality? See, apparently we're talking about 33% of the top quality guys being dated by 66% of all the women. So women are raising their bar to the point where guys are disadvantaged. So there are 67% of guys who are just not qualifying for any relationship. Guys are not single because they chose to, or sometimes they do, but in most cases they are just not able to attract a partner. And well, regardless of that's my opinion. My understanding of the situation is that in dating, the female is the selector. So she chooses to date, and the male is the, let's say, the activator, the proposer, who kind of tries to showcase himself to be chosen. So guys are chosen to be dated, and 67% of the guys are not chosen, compared to only 33% of women not being chosen.
I think it's important also to think about how sometimes if you ask a man if he's in a relationship, he might say he's not when technically he is. So
Okay.
these numbers could be skewed a little bit, right?
Okay.
Because sometimes the woman feels like it's a relationship, but it's a situationship
Yeah.
in reality.
That's
So I
the
think
new
that's
term, right?
important
The
to throw into
situationship.
that. Yeah.
Or they've been dating for a long time, but like he hasn't officially asked, like, do you want to be my girlfriend or do we want to be in a relationship? But it's been like 6 months or something. So like,
Yeah.
even if it's not messy, like even if you're going out on like public dates and like you've met each other's friends, but there hasn't been like that official moment. In a woman's mind, I feel like we're like, okay, we're at least on the road there. Like I'm not
Right.
most likely opening up myself to other dating options, but if someone asks him, he might just say like, it might just be like a cut and dry, like, no, I'm not in a relationship, which like technically might be true, but I don't think you have to be in a relationship to be like respectful of like your current situation or not looking like maybe he's not truly satisfied, but he's just is satisfying enough for the moment or something. So yeah. And I don't know. I think a lot of the things that, as you said, like disqualify guys, I think are changeable, and a lot of them just choose to not do them. I mean, not everything. Some things are non-negotiable for some women, and they just like can't, like height or something, or weight, or I don't know, eye color or something ridiculous like that. But I think other things like character traits you can absolutely work on, and like, if you're like a workaholic and they don't like that, you can absolutely work on that, or vice versa. If you're lazy, you can work on that. So I think a lot of the things are like they can be edited, but a lot of people or a lot of guys are more like a take me as I am. And if you're worth it, I'll change, versus like I will change for you. And then we can like continue this situation.
Yeah. I think hookup culture has become just the norm.
For sure. It's very traumatic too, like a lot more traumatized than I think people realize.
Definitely.
When I hear people talk about it, I'm like, I think you need therapy after that. Like, are you okay?
Right, exactly. Well, and I think the pandemic kind of, invited that.
Yeah.
Right. And especially because coming out of the pandemic, everyone has needs and, everyone just kind of wants to get those needs met in any way possible. So, but yeah, hookup culture is kind of like but out of control, I feel like right now, like these days. I know that kind of makes me sound old, but I don't know. That's just
I
how
don't think
I feel.
so. Yeah, I think the culture shifted quickly and drastically. And yeah, sometimes I'll even catch like myself, like battling with like the culture in my mind, and I'm like, that's not actually what I want, but that's more so like what's being offered. Not even like not even like a situationship, but just anything. Like I don't love going out or like bars and clubs. Like I don't love it, but I will go like occasionally. But when my friends are like, oh, let's do this, and every weekend I'm like, culturally, like I know that's what we're supposed to do, but like for me, I don't really want to do this every weekend. But it's just kind of like sometimes you just got to bite the bullet, I feel like.
So can I make a suggestion for people who are kind of feeling the way that you feel? I have recently kind of come to the idea that successful men are actually not at bars and clubs late at night. They're actually at happy hour.
Perfect.
They're at happy hour, right? Because they've completed their day, and when work is done, they're done. They don't work till.
That's if they drink. Lots of successful men don't drink.
Exactly. And I mean that's right. I mean there are some that don't, but I feel like happy hour is a great place to meet a man of like high quality, someone who is career focused but is not a workaholic, right? So I'm just gonna put that out there. So if you guys aren't at happy hour,
That's a good advice.
That is
Go
you're
to happy
missing
hours.
you're missing that piece there.
And my point was that, well, together with cultural shift towards more shorter term relationship, I also see the change. So it's an inflation of expectations in relationship. And what it basically means is that my granddad had to work less to get higher quality partner than I have to work now to get a lower quality partner. So there's a basic inflation of expectations. So I wonder if you see the same happening on your side, or what do you think about this phenomenon?
Yeah, I think we talked about it earlier. I think one of the reasons is because inflation towards, again, what? Quality? Expectations, yeah.
Relationship
So,
expectations.
yeah, the initial idea was the expectations towards women, right? Inflation.
Yeah, was very high.
Yeah.
Kind of catching up.
Yeah, I think like first of all, it's because right now women work, women take care of themselves, women are independent, and like, why would they need another person, like, you know, from like of some other quality, let's say. So yeah, of course it would lead to inflation, as you said. And the same thing goes either way, like in other way, from men to women, women to men. So yeah. Plus, I think society was different back then. Like the pressure was real. People were not as, you know, free spirited in a way. So which also leads to that.
Yeah, and the whole want versus need. You know, I feel like women want a man, they don't need a man. And back in the day, that wasn't the case.
This wasn't the case. Yes.
Absolutely not.
Exactly.
You know, women were not empowered like we are today. They had to rely on a man for pretty much everything.
Yeah.
So that's going to change the landscape 100%.
It's yeah, just now I have these conversations with my mom and my grandma. They are back in Russia. So Russian, Eastern European, you know, cultural thing is different, I think.
Yeah.
So right now, whenever I tell them about like a person I'm dating and about my doubts, my grandma would be like, come on, like lower your standards. And I'm like, Grandma, you did that. So I don't want to do that. And I think that another generational thing is like I know struggles my grandma, my mom went through. I do not want to go through the struggles myself. So I'd better stay single rather than be with a person like
that's not right for you.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And I think it was more like almost like expected for women to like settle. And if they weren't 100% happy, like it was fine.
Right.
Like I'm sure maybe all of us or maybe some of us know of like a grandmother or a great aunt or someone who like got into that marriage and was not super happy and just like settled in and like stuck it out.
That's true.
And now we're like, we have a lot of like options and a lot of things going on. We don't have to like come home and be unhappy when, you know, there's all these other things we have to deal with. So I think also that shift of like, we're not gonna not be happy, and you know, we're expecting like more emotional and mental maturity from men, and they don't get to just like work and come home and like, you know,
Check
not
out.
really, yeah,
Mhm.
and just, you know, bring in a paycheck or whatever, because we're also bringing in a paycheck. So it's like
Mhm.
now we need like a partner and not a, I don't know, a paycheck, or not just like a body. Like we want a relationship, a real connection there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, but I still don't understand why statistics is so skewed. It's like if so we went from the reality where, and unfortunately it's still the case in some countries, but not in the Western world, where one guy can have multiple women.
Yeah.
Say like, you know, there are countries where you can have up to 4 or whatever. So we went from that all the way to she just not just wants somebody who is bringing same amount of money, who has like emotional stability and so on, but also somebody who can help her grow and achieve her goals. So she's looking for a partner who is also enabler, maybe sponsor in some way, depending on your archetype. Maybe somebody who is there emotionally to kind of make sure that she's able to decompress after fighting all day at her job with men for values that men came up with. You see? So this is what I personally see. I see that women are getting more emancipated. So they're becoming more, they're picking up more of men qualities that are necessary at the workspace to be able to, you know, to get what they need to do, to deliver on time, to even overpower sometimes, you know, in meetings. Say, you know, you have to get loud, you have to be persistent, you have to make sure that your point is getting across, and the interests of whatever business unit you are in are heard and also considered in whatever decision is about to be made. So this kind of qualities are what men usually are supposed to have. You see, this ability to deliver, ability to persuade everybody around you, and so on. But now women are picking up the very same qualities. So this is one thing which I see. And another thing which I see is, unfortunately, there's the reverse happening to men. Sometimes men are getting loose.
Well, I feel like there's a feminization of men now, and not in a bad way. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way at all. But I feel like now men are becoming more sensitive, more emotional, you know, creatures. And it's kind of awesome, I think.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love
having
that they're
people
tapping into their feminine side.
Right, exactly. In touch with that is just so amazing to see. But that's been recent. That hasn't been the case, right? So I think too, sometimes men that are still very masculine are they're almost intimidated, if you will, by like that kind of new way of being. And so they might double down on being like super masculine. And then you've got like the toxic masculinity issues and all of that, right?
Yeah.
So that is definitely prevalent, though. That's definitely out there. And I don't know, I think some women are just kind of becoming more masculine, but again, in the best way, right? So I think it's cool. Like I love to see that. Yeah.
I feel like it's leveling out in like a good way. I feel like there's a lot more. I feel like there's more quality men now than there even was like even like a few years ago, like before the pandemic. I feel like
I think so.
It kind of forced you to do like that internal work, even if you didn't want to. And people like came out of it like knowing themselves better. So then they know what they want versus just like kind of taking whatever is thrown at you. I think it's leveling out in a good way.
And I can speak to that as a dating coach. I mean, what I'm seeing in my clients is a big change.
Yeah.
And that is very exciting and awesome. Like I said, it's just awesome.
So which specific, what kind of change are you talking about specifically?
Oh, I was just saying, like just men being more in tune with like their emotional, sensitive side and, you know, taking those traits that maybe weren't always considered masculine. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I do believe that showing vulnerability and talking about your vulnerabilities to the partner you trust is one of the best things you can do to make the relationship stronger. Okay, I love it. Love it. Do you want to talk about your book?
Yeah. So it's called Getting Cozy in Public. And that's my brand, Getting Cozy. That's always kind of been, I'm a Southern belle. So I always have told my friends or, visitors, hey, come in, get cozy. And so that's kind of been my thing for a long time now. But, and I think that it's important to kind of destigmatize PDA and just talking about sex openly and just, we're 2023, like let's embrace like our sexual, innateness and like everything that we feel and go with it in the moment and be spontaneous and all of that. And then people tell me, when I ask my friends, like, how often do you have sex? A lot of times I hear like, oh, once a month, once every few weeks. And I'm like, how is that even possible? Like, I feel like it needs to be a priority. Like, this is important. I mean, like I said before, I'm 12 years married. We are sexual every single day now. And we have been since we met, basically. Not since we met. Okay. We didn't sleep on this first night, but you know what I'm saying? Like, since we were together in a relationship, I'm like super red now. But no. And, we're both very sexual people and we've embraced that. And I'm so grateful that I'm with someone whose love language is, physical touch, just like mine. And like, obviously we're just meant to be together. But my point is that we prioritize it. It's important to us. And even though we've been married for 12 years, even though we have two kids, this is why I wrote this book, because I'm like, people think that it's not possible to have both. You can't have a family and have a healthy sex life. It's just not possible. You can't be in a relationship for more than like a few months without like the honeymoon phase, dying off. It's not possible. No, it is possible, but you have to connect on a deeper level and you have to really see each other and learn how to do that. And we don't take the time to do that. So in my book, I talk about, so many different things that you can do to connect with your significant other. Learning their love language is huge. Learning their attachment style. Those two things alone will completely transform your relationship. And I know that when Aaron, his name is Aaron, by the way, we're Aaron and Aaron.
That's cute.
When he was courting me, which he really did, he courted me. It was so adorable. He brought me gifts all the time. And I'm not a gift person. Now, I loved them. I loved the watches, the jewelry, everything. But that's not my love language. You know what I mean? Like, I'm words of affirmation. I'm physical touch. So had we taken the time to know each other's love language, even in the beginning, our relationship would have been even stronger because we would have already been on the same page with each other. So if you're not connecting with your significant other, that's a good place to start, a really good place to start. And just having those heart-to-heart conversations that are just hard to have, but just being really open and honest about your needs and what you need on every level, especially sexual, because I think that people just don't talk about it and they just kind of sweep things under the rug, or maybe they have a mediocre sex life and they have fantasies and they want to do different things. And, they want to bring toys in and food and like all these things, right? Open your mouth and talk about it. Like, what do we say? Closed mouths don't get fed. Right?
Yeah.
It's so true. Yeah. So my book is all about that. And it's not for married people. I mean, it's for married people, but it's not just for married people. It's for anyone in a relationship. And to be honest, some of the people that have read it aren't in relationships and they love it because now they know what to do when they get in a relationship to start it off on the right foot.
So amazing. Do you recommend to talk about things like how often do you need this? Do you need that? How often do you want to have sex and so on? At the very first date, or like when is the time to have this talk?
So, I mean, first date, I talk about like what we, in the intro, I talk about like how we met, and we actually met online. And it's funny because this happened a really long time ago before like apps and swiping and all of that. It was like a very much like online website.
MySpace.
Yeah, I was going to say.
No, it's called SinglesNet, but don't look it up because it's actually a porn site now, which like
That's
breaks my
hilarious.
heart. I'm like, thank you for desecrating, our meeting spot. But no, and the thing I'll say too is that we met within 24 hours of like matching or like chatting.
I never do that.
That is so important.
Wow.
So important. If you sit there and you're chatting with someone for weeks, I'm sorry, you're never going to meet. Like that spark is just going to go away. And there's so many other people online. He's going to match with someone else. And that person might be like, oh, let's go grab a cup of coffee. And then boom, they're in a relationship. You know what I mean? So don't waste time chatting. You don't need a pen pal. Okay. We met really, really quickly and I was so glad. And it was just, we knew we were together from that first date, honestly. But on our first date, we talked about literally everything. And I think it's so important to do that. I mean, I told him, I said, I want to have kids within like 2 years. Like I want to be married and have kids within 2 years. And I was already 30 at the time. He was 28, but he was like, you were such a breath of fresh air because all the other girls I dated just didn't talk about what they wanted, and he was unsure what he wanted. But hearing me talk about how sure of myself and like what I needed, it was just like what he needed to hear. He's like, yes, that sounds awesome. Yeah. Like, let's do it, So we were married within a year and a half, I'd say, after that. And then I had our first child about 6 months after we got married. Wow. And yeah, but pregnant every day. Right after the baby, we did that 6 weeks or whatever that you're supposed to, but then it was like, it's on,
It doesn't hurt or anything after a child?
I mean, I was scared to death.
I'm terrified, yeah.
Like I had a regular vaginal birth. I mean, sorry.
He's like, much? Sorry.
Talking about this. I know, like
I'm trying to relate to that, but I cannot.
It's okay. It's okay. But yeah, so it was a little scary, like getting back, on the saddle as it were. But we're so just physically attracted to each other that it was just like, we're just gonna do it. Yeah, I'm like, we're just gonna do it. But it's just important to know that the honeymoon phase doesn't have to fizzle out. Like I think people just always assume that it will. And if you're doing the right things, it doesn't have to. And I feel like this book is honestly like a sexy little handbook to like keep your relationship hot. So it's called Getting Cozy with Public and 9 Other Ways to Keep Your Relationship Hot. It's on Amazon ebook and paperback and coming soon audio.
One topic which caused waves on the social media is your idea of a roster. And when I think what I was trying to get to with the statistics is it possible that every guy just has 2 girls in his roster and they don't know about that, or they know but they are fine with this?
Just 2?
Yeah, your device is 5. So can you remind this idea of roster?
Yeah. So the whole idea of it is you don't want to have all your eggs in one basket, right? If you're dating multiple people and something doesn't work out with one of them, you're not going to be devastated. You're not going to be depressed. You're not going to be crying. You're going to be like, okay, moving on. I still have all these other guys that are amazing that are in my rotation, and same for men, And I think that it's so hard to find your match that it's a numbers game. By having more options in your arsenal, I think it increases the odds, obviously. And then you don't have to decide who you want to be with until it's obvious that you either want to sleep with that person exclusively, or, you're kind of torn maybe between 2 or something like that. And then you finally are just like, no, this is the person for me. But there's no timetable on it. Now, when you ask me, should the other person know about it? That's up to you. I mean, I think that being open and honest is the best policy always, especially right in the beginning. Now, if you're dating someone for a few months and then you tell them, don't do that, Yeah. So make sure that it comes up pretty quickly, I would say. But on the first date, you don't have to tell them like, oh my God, you're like date number 3 for me today. Like, no you don't need to do that.
Check out the profiles of other guys I'm dating.
What do you think of him? Yeah, exactly. So, because you don't want to hurt their ego. You don't want to hurt their self-esteem. You're still building something with them and seeing if that is your match. So just be smart about it. But I don't think that dating one-on-one right off the bat is a good idea. I think that it puts way too much pressure on you, on that person. So I say roster all the way.
I remember when
Go on.
I was watching the other podcast with you.
Yeah.
I heard about that roaster and I'm like, oh my God, that's exactly what I'm doing. I did not know that's legit, but and that it's actually, you know, allowed. But
allowed. I love it.
like mentally, you know.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, and even though I felt like, oh, I'm so cool, I'm dating like this amount of guys at the same time, like this one is for that, this one is for that, let that, which was cool. But at the same time, I realized that I'm basically doing things like half-ass, you know,
Mm.
like I'm not giving my presence to them, like my full presence, my full emotional availability. Yeah, things like that.
So you're saying your roster
Yeah,
is
that
just
makes
way too
sense.
big.
Yeah,
It was within amount, within 5.
Recommended
Okay.
amount.
Okay, the recommended
So
amount.
warranty still applies, right?
So what I would say to that is if you were feeling that way, then either those were not the right guys in your roster, or you might just be one of those people that just wants to date one person at a time or maybe two max, which is totally fine. But I think it's good that you tried it and you had like a taste of it. And I'm sure it did wonders for your ego, right?
Oh, it's dead.
See? And the confidence, that's, you know, women always need to be working on their confidence, right? Am I right, ladies? Because we're
Right.
always comparing each other
Yeah. Or
to
getting compared,
others.
which
Exactly.
is even more uncomfortable.
Yeah. So do things that build your confidence. And I think a roster definitely does that.
Yeah.
You know, another thing is that I've seen in some other TikTok the other day where a girl, she told a guy she was dating that she was not able to meet some other day because she had a date planned, and she told him that, and she was like she was sharing his reaction, and what he said was actually so amazing because he said, well, let the best man win.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah, right, like it's so
Yes,
amazing.
yes.
I wish, you know, you could kind of see what guys like beforehand before you tell them that, like how they would react, so just to kind of clear the roster again. Yeah, right.
So one thing I always say to my clients is you can't say the wrong thing to the right guy or girl.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
So if you did say something and they got upset,
Mm.
maybe that's not your person.
Mhm.
I've always stuck by that. It's true. You really can't. You cannot say the wrong thing to the right person.
That's a good baseline.
So be your authentic
Mhm.
and true self,
Very cool.
especially from date one. We talked about that.
Yeah, but I also want to restore equity here and say that same advice applies to guys. Guys have 5 girls.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
Into
Yes,
roster.
it's fine. I mean, it's fair, you
Yeah.
know?
Just be
Yeah.
honest about it.
Right,
I think that's
right.
the part that a lot of people like miss. They just try to like have their cake and eat it too, but you can have your cake and eat it and be honest. You know.
Yes. And I think
Integrity.
when
Yeah.
sex is involved, also just being on the safe side and all of that, you know, you
Mhm.
do want to kind of make it known. I know that's really awkward, but again, it's kind of nice not to sleep with anybody on your roster until you kind of decide who you're gravitating towards.
Right.
Oh wow.
I know. You don't have to do that, but I'm saying that
How would you maintain your roster then? Like why would they hang out?
Well, maybe they're dating other people too.
yeah, they
You
can be
know?
sleeping with someone on their
Yeah.
roster, but it doesn't have to
In
be
this case, you are not on their
Yeah.
roster.
I mean, until you have that conversation, you don't know. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
a very adult conversation. But
Yes,
yeah.
yes. And mature.
Very mature. Yeah, that's what I meant by adult.
Speaking of dates, well, first date is very important, but also you
Yeah.
give another advice that first date is supposed to be short, and that's
Mhm.
a lot of common sense, and I love this advice. It's something I've been doing for past 10 years, and sometimes I also do, well, not anymore because I kind of changed the way I meet people. But back in my day, some girls were taking it as a personal insult when I was saying, hey, let's go grab a coffee. Like, well, no, I want a dinner.
Really?
Yeah, and you're coming up with like even dinner is like 2-hour commitment.
Yes, yes. And I think that it's fine to have the first meeting be very short. And then if you enjoy each other's company, then you can take her to dinner. But I think that a girl that is upset that you're not taking her to dinner, that's kind of a red flag.
Yeah, I
what do you
think she
guys
wanted
think?
a free meal.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so too.
I have a friend who's like that about coffee dates. And I was like, really? I'm the complete opposite, especially on a first date. Like I've made the mistake of making the first date like hours long.
Yes.
And it was like fun, but then
you're stuck.
Yeah, and then I kind of got like confused about my feelings. I was like, did we just have a bunch of fun or are we actually compatible? And we weren't actually compatible. We were just like doing fun things together. I know that's confusing. But yeah, I would say that's just not the right girl.
If you choose to go to a restaurant on a first date, who pays?
I think that it's okay to offer, but sorry, that's going to bother some men, but empty offer, like no intention whatsoever of paying, but offer, you know, I think they appreciate that for sure. But I know, I hope I don't get in trouble for saying that, but that's how I feel. It's like, they're the man,
same.
like, yeah, I think the first date, especially the man should pay. And it sets the standard. Honestly, if you do a Dutch on the first date, guess what? You're doing Dutch
Honestly,
the whole
it
relationship.
It does.
Every time.
Yeah.
And that's another reason why the first date is doesn't need to be expensive.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then you don't want to feel obligated or be like, oh, he just spent hundreds of dollars doing all these things. I don't really want a second date, but now I feel obligated to do it, or you know, or vice versa. If the girl pays and then, you know, you as a guy is like, oh, I didn't really have a bunch of fun, but she just spent like $400. So I'll see her again, because that's a lose-lose eventually.
I think that kind of arrangement is very rare. And it's usually an arrangement where the woman is overpowering the man. Well, there are lots of those stories where like a younger guy is dating an older woman.
Yeah.
There's this famous example of one celebrity dating another half celebrity who wanted to become full celebrity, and they had like 30 years difference. Bottom line.
Coffee date, first date.
First date.
And also when you have something warm, I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this, but when you have something warm, you feel warm about the person you're with. So a lot of people are like, oh, let's go have ice cream. No. Because you're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to be cold. Like you want that warmthness, that like comfort feeling. And when you have something warm, that's what happens. So, and you associate that with the person you're with.
You know, the other day I had such a weird conversation with a guy from Tinder, because like we matched. The guy looked amazing. You know, the bio was amazing. Everything looked great. Plus, he worked at Google, so I was like, let's match. So we matched, and right off the bat, he started, talking about just like, let's meet. I'm like, yeah, sounds good. I don't think I had car back then. And I told him like, hey, don't you mind like coming to like my city, my town, so we could, hang out and drink coffee. He replied that he does not do coffee dates because it never leads to anything. And instead, he offered...
Loser.
Yeah.
That's weird.
He offered me to come to his place like tonight,
Oh no.
And it
no,
was
no, no.
8 p.m. It's like, yeah, just come to my place. We will get some drinks. We will get to know each other. And he was like, yeah, let's just have sex, because coffee dates never worked for me. And I don't know why. I was so curious at that point. I'm like, I should really start making TikToks about this shit.
Yes.
It was so insane. And I'm like, dude, no, like, it's like, you're just being ridiculous. Like, I'm sorry, Jack, or whatever. So yeah, but I told him like, I wish you all the best. I hope you will find that person, no coffee dates, no coffee for you for the rest of your life.
Oh my God. I can't believe how blunt he was.
Yeah. It was insane. And also like this, his pictures were, it's like the very hot guy, and I'm like, it was such a disappointment because after several conversations like that with like kind of similar guys, for me, it just was an instant connection that all the like extra hot guys, I'm so sorry about that, extra hot guys and like good bios and good photos are they're not serious. They're not ready for any relationship. They're not ready for commitment. So yeah, I'm just trying to fight all this
all the boys.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah, that's the term I was
I
going
love
to. I
it.
was going to coin, but thank
Yeah.
you for bringing this up,
The
Erin.
ones-
I love how
Absolutely.
modern you are. You're-
It's very alarming how quickly men will
shocked.
give you their address. Like, I could
Right.
rob you. That doesn't ever go through your head. Like,
No.
I could like hijack your car. Like, you.
So on that topic,
That's
we
Hey,
talked
don't
about
get on her bad side, y'all.
I wouldn't rob anyone. I'm just saying. I'm a
What's your
Jehovah's
social?
Witness.
Yes.
So that goes back to the conversation we had last time, that this women's affection towards horror.
Mhm.
Remember that? I think we talked about this as well with you.
Which one?
So how girls like to watch horror, thrillers, and so on. So all this genre which exposes other people to danger,
Mhm.
because women are primarily worried and concerned about their safety,
Uh-huh.
not getting raped, not getting killed or anything.
Mhm.
Guys don't have most of it.
Mhm.
That's why
Right.
they're like, well, okay, so what's going to happen? I'm going to give you address. I have 0.1% chance you're going to show up,
Yeah.
and the remainder you're going to stop responding.
Right.
You see, so this is the guy's point of view to that.
Well, and they're only thinking about one thing, right? So
Right.
they're not thinking about anything
Very tunnel vision. We have to
else.
think about like
Exactly,
30
yes.
different.
I thought of this. I kind of want to do this new like service. Okay.
Mhm.
So basically, it would be I would take over your dating app as you, and I would be the one
Oh.
who messages these
Oh.
potentials, right? Like I would vet them, I would filter them out,
Mhm.
Mhm.
and then I would set up video chats. So if a guy says no to a video chat, that's a no. Like he's not getting close to you guys, right?
Mhm.
Like
That's a
I would
red flag,
protect you
yeah.
and be like, no, that's a red flag. Because if a guy says no to a video chat, and I don't know if you guys agree or not, but he's hiding something.
For sure.
He's married, he's in a relationship, he's catfishing, he looks nothing like his photos, he's a bot.
Mhm.
I don't know. But if he says no to a video chat, then he's off. He's
In-
off the list.
In most of the cases, it's not that he's trying to hide something, but he's not very, his integrity is not up to where you want it to be. So he might say you some things which he learned from a pickup coach on YouTube,
Mhm.
but he's not really that person when you meet him. In video chat, is again, maybe he's not as attractive,
Right.
or don't know what to say, don't know how to behave, don't know how to sound,
Mhm.
doesn't know anything about body language. He just executes somebody else's advice over text.
Right. And so, when you video chat with someone, you're going to get a taste of how they are
Exactly.
in real life
Mhm.
without getting all dressed up and going out, to a
Right.
coffee shop or a restaurant or whatever. So I would be kind of the liaison and just give you like the creme de la creme, basically. And as a dating coach, I see all the red flags. So if I'm chatting and I see a red flag,
Mhm.
I'll be like, okay, take care, good luck.
I
But
love
you're
it.
not coming near
Yeah.
her.
You mentioned one red flag is when the person doesn't want to do a video chat.
Mhm.
What are other red flags that you typically see, and you would teach our audience?
Mhm.
For girls is to screen for, and for guys is to be knowledgeable about and to work on them.
Yeah. I mean, I think definitely what the guy you're talking to, that's like a walking red flag, right? But I would say for sure, if they're asking for more pictures and you have plenty of pictures on your
Ugh,
bio,
most
right?
annoying
Or on your,
question.
profile, that's a huge red flag
Mhm.
because
You-
why do you need more pictures of me? Like if
Yeah.
you want to see me in person, we can do that, but I'm not going to send you more pictures of me, So that's huge. That's a huge red flag to me. That's fuckboy energy. That's
For
definitely
sure.
How many is enough?
The ones that are on my profile.
Yeah, right.
Oh, I see. I see.
Yeah.
That's why
I
it's
feel
set
like
up.
what
Anymore.
5
Huh?
to 7 probably is like a typical
Yeah,
profile.
dating. Yeah,
right?
I would say that. Yeah.
Yeah.
More than enough. I mean, if it's one, then okay.
Yes,
But,
of
if it's
course.
fully set up, I feel like I get the ick. I'm like,
Exactly.
never mind.
That's where the video chat comes in.
That's
you know what I'm
true.
saying? Like, I think that is what I would suggest if I was like, okay, let me just kind of test the water and see, oh, well, then let's just do a video chat. Like, why do you need more pictures of me? You just do a video chat. You can
Right.
see me. So that's probably my number one red flag.
Mhm.
I would say there's a lot of bots out there. You just have to be careful. Like maybe that guy was a bot. I don't know. Right?
I mean, now I have this thought. The other day, I remember I was on that app again, and it was like so many months after that, and I saw that guy again, and I actually wanted to match with him back, just to kind of roll to that conversation, but like back to that conversation, and actually do the like screenshots, because I don't know why I did not do that first time. Yeah, but another thing I wanted to ask, like, in what circumstances would they ask for like more photos? For example, in my experience, I stopped sharing my personal contacts. I was like, I would share my personal contacts if I feel like that after the first date. I would just tell them after they ask for my phone number. I would be like, hey, I do not share, so let's meet, for a date, and then let's see if if it works. So
Funny.
it eliminates the amount of just contacts I'm not gonna use anymore.
Yeah. I think that if you have sufficient amount of photos and if they're varied, you've got close-ups, you've got full body, like there's absolutely no reason for anybody to ever ask you for more photos. I honestly think it's offensive, to be honest with you, like purely honest. Like
It's invasive.
It is like, I already put myself out there, and a lot of guys don't even care to answer questions on there. And I think women are always, very good about like asking questions or, answering the questions and making that part of their bio and their profile.
Girls are usually much more selective, and that's why they spend a lot of time on
swiping and
reading through.
Right.
Bios are being read.
It's important to them.
How much time do you usually spend on? How much time would you recommend to spend? On a bio.
I would read the full bio, because sometimes there's red flags within the bio,
For
right?
sure.
So please do that. But I also think like short and sweet also, is very good. You want to do something that you're asking a question. That's always good, because sometimes they're able to just like answer the question, like, hey, dogs or cats, or, tacos or pizza or whatever, like something fun and cute like that. One thing, I don't know if you guys saw this, but this went viral on TikTok. It was a woman that said, I literally said in my bio, tell me which restaurant that you'll see me at 7 p.m. or something like that. And like, she got so many responses because the guy was like,
with restaurant names.
hell yeah, that was so easy. I just was able to just like give her a restaurant name, and then boom, we've got a date made. So
That's cool.
To me, that's red flag. To me, it says that she's looking for food and not looking for a date.
I mean, the girl is obviously starving,
Obviously,
looking for a
yes.
sponsor.
Context and personal information.
Okay.
So to me, if I were to go and spend time with a person, and I want to know that they are serious about meeting up, I would at least expect them to give the phone number. You see, yes, of course, there has to be proper amount of like interest gauging, video chats and everything. But when we are to meet, if a girl wants to meet but doesn't give me a phone number, she's not really serious. So to me, that's a red flag.
So what like why I decided to not share my contacts is because, first of all, like I would exchange numbers with a guy, and then we would just start texting for so long,
right.
everything just fades, and I'm like, why do I have, like, who is this person? I don't even know. Plus I have Android, which also kind of makes everything harder. And
the green bubble.
Yes, you know what? Like the other day, I matched with a guy, and he offered to meet like for dinner. And I'm like, yeah, sure, let's do that. And we exchanged phone numbers, and then we started texting. And his like one of his responses were, well, like. We started with something cute, like, I don't know this area. He said, I don't know this area very well. I'm like, I'll be your guide. He's like, I'll be your sexy follower. I'm like, well, okay. And then he was like, but you are getting points off for green bubbles.
Oh, that's
And
That's
I'm like,
ridiculous.
I'm like, dude, like, feel free to just show up with an unboxed iPhone. I don't
There you
mind.
go.
That's
I like
hilarious.
That's a nice way to
it.
turn around.
Yeah.
What he actually answered to that, he's like, well, I don't think you're on that level yet.
Oh, wow.
And
So he's trying to turn that around. And now it's your turn. So it becomes a game. I love this.
I'm like, dude, are you?
It's playful.
Like, are you on
Yeah,
that
that's-
level though?
That's a flirty but very like edgy flirting.
Yeah, I'm
Very
like, I'm
edgy,
sorry,
yeah.
you cannot afford. Maybe we will should meet, later when you able to afford an iPhone.
So if you get into that situation again, or if anybody listening, does, I would recommend just don't ghost. Please don't ghost. Let's be, mature and not ghost, but be
That's what I do.
well, it's okay. But be very brief in your responses and don't engage. Don't engage every single text. And then he'll get the point of, oh, she doesn't want to text. She wants to go out again.
Yes.
Or, right. But it'll like make him feel like, oh, maybe I need to ask her out instead of like text her all day long.
Yeah, but that's where we came from. Like we were going to actually meet that night, but I lost all the interest. I'm like, so that guy is trying to boost his ego by like criticizing my choice of like personal devices I use. Like, what the hell? We haven't even met yet.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's different. I'm saying if you've already met them in person and you've exchanged phone numbers and they're just texting you all the time, that's like boyfriend. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like only a boyfriend is like allowed to text you like whenever they want. Like be, like don't let someone just text you all the time. Like just have those boundaries. You do need to have those boundaries and kind of protect your,
I have a question about the apps. So like, when you like match with a guy and you'll talk maybe like 2 times back and forth and then they like want to get off the app really quickly, is that a red flag? Because I also don't like giving out my number super, super early, or they'll say like, oh, do you have Instagram? But I have like also like my family on Instagram, like my work on Instagram. And I'm like, I don't know if I want to like bring you into that world. And I go back and forth with like making it public and making it not. So is that a red flag when they like immediately want to jump off the app? Because I'm like, unless we're on a call, we're going to still be messaging. Like it's literally the same thing.
Yeah. When you say app, you mean dating app?
Yeah, dating app.
Okay. So no, I mean, I actually like when guys do that because I do think that being on a dating app and doing the back and forth is just, it's tired. Like, let's not do that. So at least if you're off the app, you're kind of a step closer to maybe meeting IRL, but it's really your comfort level, but no, I wouldn't say that's a red flag. No.
So the role of social media in the dating process. The kinds of photos you post on Tinder are different from the kinds of photos you post on Instagram. And Instagram is, again, it's very highly curated, of course, but it gives a different spectrum of you.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know how people are going to feel about this, but I think that if you're dating, you could have a private Instagram just so you don't have to worry about that. If that's something you're concerned with, just make your page private, and then when you're like hard launching the relationship, maybe that's when you make it, public again.
It's funny because
I don't know.
My life changed a lot when I actually switched my Instagram to public.
Yeah.
And this is where I started to get very different results.
Interesting.
Good or bad?
Different. I can't say they're better or worse. I mean, I don't want to compare, but I started to get very different kind of girls.
In it, like
through that.
Like a better quality, or
as far like just your opinion, would you can say they're more quality or less quality than before?
Like you're unseen.
I love social media because it allows you to scale your efforts.
Yeah,
true.
Say when you are chatting with somebody on an app, you have to tell your story over and over again. I mean, yes, if you do a lot of those storytelling, it's kind of automated, but you still have to repeat it.
That's true.
While if there is social media, then all they need to do is just basically go and see what you are doing. And I'm very transparent in what I do. If I go to a restaurant, I take a story. Sometimes I take my video gear and I do like, we went to this wonderful place called iChina in Santana Row. And just the interior of this restaurant is remarkable. It wasn't really a date. It was more like celebration of my new job. And it was me and 5 girls.
Yes. Okay.
Like 5 guys and girls.
It was your entire roster.
That's ideal for you.
No.
I'm kidding.
I don't sleep with any of them. I just believe that women are amazing companions and amazing creatures overall. Lots of fun. I'll just like to roll that way. You see, but I'm not really sexual with a lot of them.
That's great. Yeah. You also, okay, so if I was single now and I'm on Instagram, I would actually have that I'm single in my bio, like on my Instagram bio. I would totally do that.
You are inviting a disaster.
Yeah, I was gonna
and
say.
she can tell you.
I would do it in like a classy way somehow. Like, I don't know, like a cute way, but I think that it's putting yourself out there, right? And like saying like, hey, I am unattached. And if you're interested, maybe I'd say like slide in the DMs or something. I don't know, something like that. I'm just saying like, I feel like the more you put yourself out there, you're better, the better your chances.
Of course.
But also there's some people who are like in full-blown relationships who are not posting that at all. Is
true.
that a red flag?
Oh, yeah.
Like even if they're, I don't know, because
in a situation.
I know some people, I know some people like are very, very private about that. But I feel like social media is literally basically for us like to be nosy and connect. So if like you're posting everything but that,
it's a red flag.
Yeah.
I think it's a red flag. My girlfriend was dating someone for a year and never once did he post them together. And sure enough, he was cheating on her. It's like, I was not surprised. I mean, if this person isn't
Erin,
shouting from the rooftops.
one part I have a disconnect about is how does cheating go together with the roster? Aren't
With
you
the
supposed
roster?
to? Yeah, aren't you supposed to like date multiple people at the same time? What's cheating then?
Well, but they were in a relationship.
Yeah,
they were
exclusively
like
dating.
basically living together. They were planning their future kids.
That's committed, yeah.
Everything. Like this was a solid relationship. Everybody knew they were together, but you went to his Instagram and you're like,
right,
where is she? She is nowhere. And of course, he's liking every photo of every bikini on the app. But
that's a red flag.
For sure.
Who he likes is a red flag for sure.
Yes. And if your partner is doing that, just ask them not to do that, or to be more respectful. I feel like I think women just kind of vent about it, but they don't actually like say to their partner like, hey, this makes me feel really uncomfortable. Like you putting flames in the comments, that's not okay. You know what I mean? And he was doing that shit, you guys.
Yeah,
like
that's rough.
What? Yeah.
And I hate how like Instagram like does it so like they'll say like basically your man plus 500,000 other people like this, and then like put just his comment under like,
yes,
please don't sift it out like that,
right?
Because it shows you the people you are most engaged with.
I know. But it's like a slap.
Kind of
it is.
Does you disservice that
it's
way.
like, all right, I got it.
You know what's weird? Like I do not. I never put I'm single on my bio in Instagram, but. Sometimes I'm getting a little unhinged, and I just put like, I'm looking for a sugar daddy. Like just
you will for sure get responses.
Something about sugar daddy. It was a joke. Like I do it, and actually the amount of men who responded to that story was insane. Like one of the guys I used to work with, like some restaurant, and he responded to my story. I'm like, where do I sign up? I'm like, dude, you literally have your girl on your photos on Instagram. I'm like, what the fuck? And he's like, well, we are open, we're open relationship. I'm like, should I text her that and verify that?
Right.
Like, what the hell? And other guys would like send all this
but
like
you are
flame.
dangerous.
No, I don't think so, but maybe a little. Well, they send this, flames. And then I'm like, so how's your girl been? He's like, yeah, she's been well. Thanks for asking.
I have this thing about height. Like, I love like NBA sized men. So
like 7 feet.
Yeah, like my first boyfriend was 6'8". Like I'm not kidding. And the second one was 6'6". Like I really have a thing.
Damn.
So I feel like that's also like 3% of like men are that height if they're not already in the NBA. So
right.
I would definitely love to do that. If nothing else, to get out of that, I don't know, typecast in my head. Because I know there's some amazing men at 5'10" or 6 feet or whatever. So because that's like, I mean, that's like the first thing I look for. And then if they're already like at my height, I've kind of like checked out already.
Yeah.
And that could like be the person. So
how tall are you?
I'm 5'6".
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I'm not even that tall, but I don't know. I have a thing, but I would like to do it if nothing else for that.
The joke I like to say is, life is short. Spend it with a tall man at least.
Don't tell me that.
No, don't enable her.
Cool. All right, we have to go and have some laughs at Tommy T's. We have a comedy show in Pleasanton. I have 2 tables there. Everyone is invited, but we have to leave soon, and that's why we're going to close. Khadija, I'm filing for divorce. All those years it was a tragedy. You cook so well, you made me fat. You can keep the dogs, I'll take the kids.
I made you fat? You're the one who chose to eat the food. And I take the dogs. You're the one who wanted the dogs. How about you take the dogs? Let's take this to court. I'm going to get custody over those kids. And then you can have your tail between your legs and take the dogs while you're at it.
Love it. Okay, so now when we got this out of the way, so the reason why I'm bringing up divorce
I had to
is
stop
because,
laughing.
the reason why I'm bringing up divorce is because time for Q&A, folks. Divorce is one of the questions here. I had a friend of mine, Erin Hill. Erin was very helpful and contributed to those answers. Hamza is a friend of mine. I know him for a while, and now he's helping folks to get back with their ex. So this is his niche in dating.
Get back with your ex. You give
Yes.
advice to go back with your ex?
Yeah, it's one of the offers that we have at the company to help people reattract their ex and
What if
then
their ex
maintain
isn't
the
good for
relationship.
them? That's why it didn't work out in the first
Then-
place.
Then we tell them. We let them know.
Oh, you let them
that-
know? Okay.
yeah,
And what if
yeah.
they don't
They're-
listen?
Then they have to
Then-
get help from someone else.
Then you tell them to go see a therapist.
Yeah. We think coaching and therapy they go hand in hand. So
Okay.
we
Yes.
definitely
Gotcha.
recommend that.
Khadija is a model, and she's a friend of mine. She's from
Nice.
Michigan. She's from Michigan, so not so basically next state to you, to your homeland, Hamza.
Nice.
Yeah. And
Where are you located?
Originally from Chicago,
Oh, okay,
but
okay.
I'm in DC right now.
Oh, I love DC. They have good food there and a lot of vibes.
Yeah.
yeah, Khadija is all about vibes. Cool. So yeah, I have you folks here for the questions, and like I know Hamza for you because you are on the East Coast. It's probably getting late for you. So let's go over this really quickly. Thank you for jumping on the call. Thank you for contributions. Cool. So question number 1, question about divorces. According to CDC, this is number from 2022, data from 2022. 39% of marriages end up in divorce. And the joke here is that the other is 61% of marriages end up in death.
Yeah, till death do us
Yeah,
part.
good point.
Yes.
That's part of your
Exactly.
vows.
So choose wisely. Okay, so and then with this, also divorce rates kind of are following the marriage rates, and marriage rates are going down, starting from according to this chart from 80s or 90s. So, okay, what do you think is the reason for such a high divorce rate in Western world? Question for you. You go first, and Hamza goes, and then we can read the answer from Erin Hill.
Obviously, I'm not a dating coach, but on my opinion, I feel like social media plays a huge part in why why the divorce rate is so high. I feel like social media makes us have unrealistic expectations for what we see as a partner, especially the first time I got on TikTok. All I saw was dating information. I don't know what made TikTok think I wanted dating information, but it let me have it. It was like, oh, if your boyfriend does these 10 things, he's not for you. Getting with your ex, no go. It's like, oh, if a girl's not wearing a watch, you can't even take her serious. So it's like all these things, all these mixed information. So then I feel like a lot of times, like, it kind of does something to our psyche when we're like having unrealistic expectations for like what our partner is, and we have the idea in our head that it's supposed to be perfect. So I feel like, especially, and also now too, I feel like a lot of people don't spend enough time courting. They spend a lot of time talking.
There's a question about this, so yeah, don't go into courting yet.
Okay, but I feel like they just don't spend enough time really getting to know each other, and then when they're like, oh, let's get married, and then it's like when you really see who they are and you have this idea in your head of how perfect they're supposed to be, and when you start seeing their faults, you just assume that like, oh, because they're not perfect, they're not for me, and someone out there is for me that's perfect because social media tells you so. That's why I think a lot of marriages end up in divorces.
Hamza, what do you think?
That's a very, very good point. Social media is definitely a contributing factor because you'll see like happy couples online, you'll see the highlights that they want to post, and then you'll look at your own relationship and you'll see the ups and the downs, and you'll compare. So comparison is a thief of joy, and a lot of people have the grass is greener mentality.
Yeah.
And then also people just don't talk about their values or very important like financial decisions and the different type of lifestyles that they want to live before they get married. A lot of people just go into it thinking that they're just going to continue the like boyfriend girlfriend type of relationship that they have, or when if they're living together ahead of like before the marriage, then that dynamic can change once the marriage happens because people have different expectations and they don't really communicate that at the beginning. So then what ends up happening is because of those expectations, resentment starts to fester, and then it just gets to a point where person can't get over it or either person can't get over it, and then they decide to split up and divorce.
Man, I need to get me a pen. I feel like you're giving me some good tidbits that I could definitely take home with me and sleep on. But this is actually great.
Yeah.
It's very
Can
interesting.
you now read what Erin answered? So
Sorry.
the first one.
So why do you think the reason for such a high divorce rate? Erin's answer is, in our society, it is very easy to meet someone discreetly. Whether it's online or at work, there's no shortage of places to connect with people and have possible affairs. It's not wrong. I also feel that we have allowed our phones to distance ourselves from our partners. We pay more attention to them than each other, thus drifting apart slowly without much notice. Divorce doesn't carry the same stigma it once did. And I think some of us fall for the old saying, the grass is always greener on the other side. Okay.
Yeah, guys, I think Hamza and Erin are in unison together that there is grass is greener on the other side mentality.
That's true.
That drives this. Okay, there's question number 2, which I think we kind of covered. I don't want to go into this, but I'm going to replace it with a different question. Who do you think initiates the divorce more, men or women, and why?
It's usually the woman, from my experience.
Really?
What do you think?
I thought it's the man. I thought it's the man because they don't know what they want most of the times. Especially I feel like guys my age, they don't be knowing what they want until like they get to 40. And it's just like, especially I feel like me, someone with like a good amount of social emotional intelligence, if I am with someone who doesn't know what they want, it's like just very unattractive. So I guess I could see like why women would be breaking up with men, but I feel like men are just like their eyes are just like, oh, it's there and then it's there and like, oh, that's cool and that's cool. So I would have said men initially until I heard Hamza's answer, I'll be honest.
It's a good point. But the thing is, a lot of guys, they're not very attuned with their emotions. So they may feel a certain way, or that resentment that we discussed may grow, and they don't know why. And they just start behaving in a negative way. And it doesn't necessarily, like, whoever initiates the divorce, that action doesn't necessarily attribute blame to either party. But the thing is, women will usually spend time emotionally checking out while a guy is like doing something wrong, or like doing something to reduce the attraction, or is not respecting the woman's boundaries. And then after enough months of emotionally checking out, the woman will decide it's time to move on. This isn't working out. And a lot of times guys will just be blindsided. They'll think that things are just going perfectly. And then they don't know what happened. But also we talk about a lot of attachment styles, like attachment style theory in our program, where like a lot of people are avoidance, so they're not going to share their feelings and their thoughts, and then it gets to a boiling point where they just blow up at the other person, and then that causes like a breakup or a divorce. But yeah, basically from working with a lot of clients, we've noticed that a lot of the time the divorce is initiated by the woman, but that doesn't necessarily mean like it was her fault or the guy's fault. It's just she was the one to like verbalize that she wanted to leave.
Interesting.
Yeah, and I think also there is some bias there in measuring this, because the person who brings up the conversation might not be the very same person who files the papers. You see,
Fair
but
enough.
yeah, like currently, according to they measure this based on who files the papers, and in 70% of cases, this is the woman who files papers.
Because we're planners and organizers. What do you mean? If you leave it to the guy to do the papers, it might take a few more years.
It's not an attack on you. It's statistics. And another aspect of this is I do believe that we live in the time when there are more planned or arranged marriages. And I know, Hamza, it's your favorite topic on the arranged marriages, but I specifically refer to marriages for the purpose of like immigration, or there is lots of like sugar daddy, sugar baby kind of arrangements. You see
I follow
again,
an
and so
Instagram
on.
page like that. It's very entertaining.
It wasn't the case maybe 40, 50 years ago when we didn't have sugar baby, sugar daddy relationship as much. And also maybe immigration wasn't, the other contributing factor as much. So that's why I think the statistics it's more of a reflection of modern trends in relationship, where relationship becomes more of a utility than it is like truly emotion, attachment, love-based partnership.
Yeah, but then the question is, how do you know you're in love, or what is love supposed to be, and then how do you know you're
I
feeling?
have a question about this.
Sorry.
Don't jump the gun. I have a
Sorry,
question
I'm
about
gonna keep
this.
quiet.
I have the question about this. Cool. Let's move on. So next question. So it is about dating apps. So with the abundance of dating apps, long-term relationships are becoming increasingly rare. Dating apps give you this illusion of endless options, and therefore you don't really put much more of a effort into working things out with the person who might be okay with you. And we talked about this during our podcast, Hamza. And people just prefer to move on. So, and at this point, I think it's unlikely that dating apps will go away. Social media will go away. I think it's here to stay, and we only see things getting worse from here, because now, like with the advance of like machine learning, AI, now people are considering relationships with something that doesn't exist, right? So then here in Bay Area, we have a lot of startups that are building kind of like virtual partners for you, and then
Not dating a robot.
yeah, give it 50 years, okay? Yeah, so it's not going to get better. It's going to get worse from now on. So the question is, for people who are looking for long-term relationship and are willing to work things out, what would be a way to look for the like-minded partners? Should they abstain from using dating apps altogether? Should they join a church, for example, where it's more traditional?
If you want a church boy.
Yeah. So what do you guys think? So Khadija, you go first, then Hamza, and then we can read Erin's answer.
So, dating apps, I think they're good for meeting people, but I feel like a lot of people use them in the wrong way, because I feel like we forget, especially a lot of dating apps like Tinder and Bumble and even Hinge. They're very superficial. You literally swipe left and swipe right depending on what the person looks like.
Yes.
And I feel like, I feel like the basis of every relationship is you have to at least find your partner attractive. However, some people who don't care so much about the superficial and the appearances, these dating apps are making them feel like, okay, the appearance is the end all be all. But I feel like I've met a lot of like females and males who like, what's attractive to them doesn't necessarily have to be your appearance. And I feel like dating apps just allows you to like swipe left and swipe right. If the person looks pretty, then like good for you. And then I remember like when I was in high school, it's like, oh, like I got this many likes, or oh, like I didn't really get that many likes today, or whatever the case may be, or oh, this picture that I have on here is so popular, let me put more on there, like that. And it just becomes like very superficial. And so now your question was, should you abstain from dating apps? I'd say no. I feel like it's a nice way to meet people, especially if you're someone who's not one for going to speed dating bars or allowing your friends to take you on double dates, or you're not one for like putting yourself out there and maybe like communicating with someone that like you feel is attractive, or the case may be. I feel like especially for people who are a lot more socially awkward or are not extroverts in that way, I feel like it's not that bad. But maybe that's unpopular opinion. You can go, Hamza.
Yeah, I mean, there are going to be two types of people in the world in 50 years. Either the type of people who uh, are excuse makers and they find a problem in everything, and they're going to be the people dating robots with AI in it,
Yes.
or there's going to be the other path of people who are more self-development focused, care more about controlling their reality and making it as positive as possible and have as high quality of life as possible. So you can see it right now. There are those two type of people existing. There are the ones who only go on dating apps. They don't talk to people in real life, and
Yeah.
then they'll go online and complain about the kind of results that they get.
Yeah.
Or they're just getting really good results and they're happy and they're just using dating apps and nothing else. And then the other type of people are the people you see that are going to like fitness related classes or dance classes, improv, anything that like photography classes, joining different clubs. Like the run club is huge these days.
Doing
A lot of
podcasts.
people are just getting into those, like they don't even like running, but they're just showing up, and half the people that show up just they walk and they
Can I pause
socialize.
for a second? Have you seen that new trend on TikTok? Especially in like the Bay Area. There's like this TikTok thing where it's like in the Bay Area, there's like this one running club and like everybody's trying to join this running club because it's like attractive guy. No? Okay.
Yeah,
My
no,
friend
I've
was just
seen that.
telling me, yeah, she was like, I need to join this running club because it's such attractive guys. Look at the video. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah,
You have to
they
love
have them
running, though.
everywhere. They're in New York too. I've seen a few TikToks about that. But yeah, run clubs are picking up, and some people who don't even like running are going, and then the people who are like the elitist runners, they're saying, "You guys aren't real runners. Why are you wearing a vest and all this running gear, and then you just come here and walk and talk to people?"
We're shopping.
Exactly.
Window shopping.
So yeah, there's the two realities, right? The chronically online reality, and then the let's find people with mutual interest. That's how I would say it's the best way to find someone for a long-term relationship or
Yeah.
high quality partner is through mutual interest and social circle.
A really good point. Yeah, you want to find Erin's answer?
Erin's answer. I feel dating apps can still connect you with a long-term partner. It's all about how you approach the potential suitor. Being upfront in the beginning can weed out those who are just looking for a fling. Also, video chatting can be a great way to meet several people quickly without much effort. Speed dating is also a good option, or joining a meetup group centered around a hobby you enjoy, like the running, for example.
Yep.
Surrounding yourself with people who enjoy the same thing as you is always a great place to start. Exclamation point.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you can definitely find high quality people on the apps. It's just the percentage is lower than in person, and you can like in person you can see their vibe and all that better
That's
too.
true.
Yeah. And I don't really know if dating apps are a crutch or like are they replacing the like soft skills that we used to have back in the day before technology, or dating app is just yet another funnel which you can leverage for
It's
whatever.
both.
Yeah. Actually,
So
on
it-
that note, I didn't even answer the part you asked about should they join a church for the purpose of meeting people. And while I did make the joke about church boys, I feel like religious institutions can be good ways to find good people. A lot of times because like that's where their parents went, that's where they go. And it also shows that like they believe in a higher power. And I feel like when you believe in a higher power, you have better morals. At least that's what I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I feel like when you believe that there's a higher power, you feel like there's a reason that you should be good, as opposed I mean, I guess psychopaths don't see reasons to be good, but I think that religious institutions are also good places to find quality people.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of women posting and talking about wanting a God-fearing man because that's
Yep.
gonna prevent him from doing negative things.
Okay, what's your take on that?
I think I don't know, it's tough because there are amazing people on both sides, like people who believe in higher power and people who don't. And I grew up religious. I'm not really as religious as I was before. I still think there is a higher power, but I've seen people who are like atheists, and they are some of the most moral people I've ever met. And then I've seen some people who are religious and they touch children. So
Yeah.
I've luckily never experienced that myself, but I've heard crazy stories, and I was always very vigilant about my younger brothers, protecting them, making sure that never happened to them. But it's just sad when you, like you were saying, where some like people have religious morals and stuff, and you expect them to behave a certain way, and then that's kind of how they are able to get away with behaving badly because of that reason. So some people, I would say it's a good way. If you're religious, you should screen for someone who also is religious, because then your values align and your lifestyle aligns. But it's hard to tell exactly their morality based off of the religion by itself. But that's why meeting in person is good, because you can kind of get a feeling
Yeah.
of the other person's mentality and where they're at.
That's true. Thank you.
Yeah, I think church is another example of creating a circle of people with similar interests. In addition, church also instills values, so it's a bit more powerful than just a circle. Cool. Thanks for the answers, folks. Let's move on. So, next question is about the shifts in intergender dynamics.
Oh, okay.
So here it goes. Over the past 50 years, specifically, I'm talking about the newer generation of Gen Z, we are observing the shift of. Are you Gen Z, by the way?
Yes, I was born in 2000.
Oh, right. You're right on the edge.
Yep, right on the edge.
Yeah, you're kind of like on the edge. Okay. So we're observing a shift of relationship dynamics where men don't seem to be willing to chase women or court women as much as our older generations of our granddads used to. So the author of the question complains that the modern men don't put as much effort into arranging dates. They're going more for like, let's just go for like coffee date, or let's just do something low pressure and low key. And it's very difficult to get the romantic dates that our grandmas were talking about. There are extreme cases where men are taking less active position altogether and assume that it's women's role to chase them. So the question is, why is this happening, and where can a more traditional woman find a more traditional man who would be willing to chase her, court her, and take her on romantic dates?
I know y'all may not want to hear this.
No. There's no judgment here.
Okay, fair enough. I am a dark-skinned woman, so I feel like my perspective is probably very different from, I guess, what a white woman would say, or an Asian woman. And I also feel
I'm intrigued.
Huh?
I'm intrigued.
Yeah. And I also feel like culture plays a big part as well. And it was actually funny. I was just watching a video on Instagram, and like I could relate to it so much, where like this African woman said that I cannot date Black African American men. And she went in. And like I feel like I could not relate to something so much in my life. And not to say that like I do not date Black African American men, but it's like and I feel like I've dated like all over, and I just feel like with African American men, it's just like, oh, let's just go back and chill, or oh, let's just go grab coffee. Like it's giving very low effort, as opposed to like someone of like another race or ethnicity. Then that's when like they're putting a little bit more effort. And I don't know, it's because like, oh, the diversity of it, that like, oh, you're different from what I typically date. That's like, that's why I should put more effort, as opposed to like African American men, where they're just like, oh, like you look like me, like I treat you like my mother, if they treat their mother right. And then I also feel like that also stems from the fact that a lot of Black people have single mothers and single families. So if you don't have the right household, then you can't necessarily give what you have never been given. Whole nother topic on its own. But so your question was, where does a woman find a traditional
woman? Do you consider yourself to be traditional girl more?
Yeah, I like to be courted. I like to be taken out to nice dinners. I like, oh, tell me like, hey, like I mean, I'm a model. I like to dress up. I like to I like to wear heels. Even if I'm gonna be walking all day, I like to wear heels. I feel like I like nice things. I feel like for me a big thing is like quality time. I want you to spend time with me. I don't want you to just be like, "Oh, like let's just hang out for like an hour here and then like okay, whatever." Like I like learning about you. I like the courting part. I feel like I'm very traditional in that sense. Like I don't want none of that nonsense. None of that talking stage for like 2 years or whatever stuff that they like doing nowadays. But to find traditional men, it's actually funny. I can only speak from my experience, but like my boyfriend, I found him at a engineering convention. I don't know if you're familiar with like NSBE, it stands for National Society of Black Engineers. And people, there's a whole thing going on where like, oh, like when you go to NSBE, you're gonna find your Nesbae, which basically means like your partner forever.
Yeah.
And which
Right.
does happen, but I mean, I met my boyfriend at like an engineering convention, and I feel like when you go to, if you're a traditional woman and you want to find a traditional man, you go to like places where like you'll find like-minded people. A lot of times people find great partners in the workplace. They find them at conventions, they find them at conferences, or they find them through mutual friends. And you know why they work out? Because like if you like your friend and they have other friends, they probably act pretty much the same, so you're probably likeliness to like them as well. That's my opinion.
Hamza?
Yeah, I agree with you on a lot of points, and I could write a book on this. It's very interesting to me, like racial dynamics within relationships and all that stuff. It's definitely cultural. Um, the way I've seen, so I follow a lot of coaches. I interact with a lot of coaches, right? Especially the guys who are teaching other men, because that's how I started. The advice a black guy gives his clients is usually a lot different than a white guy who gives like advice. And it's because of their cultural upbringing, the way that they were raised. And then that also applies to me. Like I give my advice from a different frame, and like a Asian guy from a different country gives different advice. So we all come from a certain background, and we have biases and preconceived notions because of those backgrounds. What I've noticed is with a lot of people who say that they don't like dating within their race, or they prefer dating within their race because they've had bad experiences in the past with outside of it, is it's usually a very small sample size. Um, I don't think you've dated like 1,000 people, right?
I'm
So
only 23.
right. So you're giving your perspective is based off of a small sample size of your own experiences. And then a lot of the times it can also be like your friends' experiences, and then because you've noticed certain traits, you attribute that to the whole group, or not necessarily the whole group, but like a lot of type of people that are like that. So I've heard from like a black woman, I've heard that I only date black guys. I've heard I don't date black guys at all. I
Yeah.
date everyone else. I've heard I only date white guys, only date brown guys. This girl I was talking to literally told me she only dates brown guys, and that's just because she had bad experiences with other guys. And then the first brown guy she started dating uh, treated her the way she wanted to be treated, and then she sought those qualities in that guy in other guys, and because they were similar to that guy, they treated her similarly. So then she attributes those qualities to all brown guys, but in reality, like I could find a brown guy who would treat her the same way as like a white guy treated her before, or like an Asian guy of some other country. Um, so that's my answer is like look for the qualities in the person type of person that you want. Look, like define what those are, and then find people like that in places that you want to be at. So like if you want a guy who's like a savage, ruthless type of man, and you want to just like him be the leader and that's it, and you don't have to worry about anything and that's all, then look for someone who likes MMA, or look for a guy who is a high earner, high achiever, and runs a team of people in his company.
Yeah.
Then you could go to networking events for that. You could go to different like you could go to social gatherings that have those type of people. The type of people who are setting up the gatherings are usually the type of people who show up to the gatherings. So that's what I would recommend.
Interesting. No, that's yeah. Okay, I can agree with that. I mean, who can disagree with the dating coach? But so Erin's answer. I believe this can be found online. It's all about managing expectations. What you want has to come across in your dating profile. Be clear in what you want from the start, if you know what you want. If you crave being courted, don't be afraid to state that. You will naturally attract those who are more traditional. Sweet and simple.
By what age you expect yourself to date 1,000 people?
I hope I'll never have to date 1,000 people. That sounds like a life not worth living. Unless I was a vampire or fairy or something where I live forever, then fine. I'm sure I would have had, like, I don't know, my laundry list of people and guys.
Very cool. Thank you, folks. Thank you, folks. Okay.
To follow up on that
Yeah,
though,
go
I would say is when like online is a great tool to use. Like I said before, it's not. It's just that shouldn't be your only tool. It should be part of a multi-platform strategy or different places, right? No, don't just get your leads, your dates only from online. But the point was very good that you use online to screen for the type of person that you want, but it needs to be done in a covert way, because you can't just say, I want a guy who is a leader and is dominant and is traditional, because a lot of guys are, number one, going to lie and try to confirm that bias just because they like you and they want to conform. It might not even be malicious. It might just be because they want to conform to your standards, when in reality that's not who they are, and they're just trying to be a person that you want them to be because they find you attractive, or it could be malicious. And then secondly, the way you want to do that is by saying certain things that you like which have those type of qualities. So like if you want a guy who is a leader, then you would say you want a guy who is decisive and can make good decisions. And then when they communicate with you, you see, do they make good decisions? Let's see, does the guy lead the conversation and set up a date, or is he passive and just waiting for me to take the initiative? And if they do the latter, then you know that they're not the type of person who you vibe with. If they lead and they take initiative and they give you a time and a place where to meet up, or they at least make it easy for the meetup to happen, then you know that they have that leadership quality and they are the type of person you want to date.
That's interesting. Yeah. Okay.
Awesome. Love it. So next question is, it's about first dates, and it's about impressions on the first date. And I think your Hamza has, you also have a really good answer to this one. So success on the first date is critical, as it's a gatekeeper to the further dates. Therefore, a lot of folks, both men and women, experience anxiety, especially if they haven't gone onto too many first dates. So let's hear your experience. Now the question: what are some tips for such folks to feel more comfortable and show their authentic self on the first date?
Some tips to fit. I don't know if I'm the best person to answer this, because
You can skip. Yeah, Hamza can go.
I think I'm gonna let Hamza go because I am an extrovert. So I mean, what you see is what you get. Like, it doesn't take much for me to try to be anything other than myself. So you can go, Hamza.
That's good. Yeah, I mean, I definitely recommend everyone acts and behaves like they actually feel. A lot of people have anxiety, so then they'll, like I touched on a little bit, some of those guys will try and conform to what a woman wants, and then they won't act the same way. That creates some expectations that can also create resentment. But with the whole authentic self thing, I actually touched on this on my client call just now, where we talked about how you want to act authentically as the best version of yourself, because if you just act like yourself and you want to improve and whatnot, then a lot of the times you'll stay in the comfort zone with that rationalization of acting like your authentic self. Example I give is, a lot of times, like when you're born, you're a baby and you're crying. Eventually, you learn how to talk. Your authentic self was a crying baby. Eventually, you became like a little older and you talk, you speak words. So act like your authentic best version of yourself, and just don't portray yourself in a way that you're not. Like, don't lie about who you are as a person and things that you do in your life. Like, I had one client who was he was afraid of he was very insecure about his job, and he started saying that it was something else, and he was lying about the kind of job he had. But I told him just to frame it in a different way. So like if you're insecure about being a computer scientist, make a joke about it being like something like you're like a legal hacker or something, or you're preventing the hackers from like taking down America, something like that. Because he worked in NASA as a computer scientist.
Gotcha.
So overall, the authentic word, I have an issue with it because a lot of people use it as a rationalization to stay in the comfort zone. But I also don't believe in lying straight up to people and portraying yourself as someone who you're not. So, I mean, the advice is just like if you want to keep the person around, act like yourself, but don't like have social calibration and be socially intelligent. Don't just trauma dump on people on the first date. Take your time, feel the person's vibe out. You don't need to tell them everything about you. Figure out stuff about them as well, and then just with time, you can say more like deep things and stuff.
Yeah. So be yourself, but don't scare them away. Or try not
There you go.
to.
It's a fine line because like some people, what's okay to one person may not be okay to someone else. Like the cultures come into play too, like you were talking about earlier.
Yeah, I think the question was more about how to overcome the anxiety of like, hey, I'm going to say something stupid, I'm going to like fail miserably, and I'm going to embarrass myself with my partner and whatnot.
Is it coming from a man or a woman?
A girl. But I promised it to be anonymous, so I'm trying to not share as much.
It's a little different because of like the dynamics in society and stuff. But with guys, you gotta get used to rejection. It's part of life. You're not going to be very successful if you don't deal with rejection well, because you're a lot of the time as a man, the one who has to take the initiative. You have to take the action. As a woman, like if you have anxiety, it's not as bad because you can kind of just, especially if you want a traditional relationship, because you can just sit back and let the guy do the work at the beginning. It's kind of the onus is kind of on him. But as far as anxiety in general, I would just recommend exposure therapy. Put yourself in as many situations as possible that make you anxious. If you're anxious in social situations, talk to more people, go out of your way to put yourself out of your comfort zone. And then when you're used to being out of your comfort zone in social situations, that you'll notice the anxiety goes away. But it is very similar to the gym, where if you are anxious and you are not good at socializing, then you need to work on that it's like a muscle and build upon that. And then eventually you get to a point where you're good enough at what you do. So you can just maintain, you don't have to try really hard. But also it is very similar to the gym too, where if you stop going to the gym, you're going to lose your muscles and you're going to have to start lifting lower weights if you get back into it. So just like that with social skills, you need to go out there, take action, and then continue taking action, but it doesn't need to be as intense as the beginning.
Love it.
Okay. No, I like that too. Trying to find that question.
It says first dates in the top. Yeah.
Erin's answer. The most important thing is to have zero expectations. What about know what you want? Sorry. The most important thing is to have zero expectations. I think about this in my book, Getting Cozy in Public. The first chapter tells the story of the first date I had, my now husband of 13 years. My mindset was to have fun and meet someone new, not to meet my future spouse. I also recommend a short coffee date over a long dinner date in the beginning. You just want to meet briefly and decide if this is someone you'd like to see again. Keep it casual. Okay. No, that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah, I wanted to justify a bit more on that topic. So first one is she means do not expect anything from the date itself. Like know what you want, but don't expect that, hey, something gonna happen after this date. There will be second date or there will be no second date. She just basically go there with open mind. Okay. This is what she means by this. And second one is keeping the date casual That's kind of, it goes against our earlier conversation, but keeping the date casual helps you to not have much of a kind of performance anxiety. I don't have to like overdress. I don't have to like be perfect because we are just having like coffee, or we're just having like quick lunch or whatever. It kind of gives you, again, it helps you to cope with anxiety. And this question was about anxiety, and I think the answer is again towards anxiety. Thank you, guys. Let's move on because it's getting late. Okay, next question is going to be my favorite because it's a psychology topic. So it's a question about dark triad traits.
Dark traits.
Dark triad, yeah.
Like BDSM? Oh, not that. Okay, continue. Thought you were talking about fetishes.
I don't have a question about
Continue.
extracurricular activity. Dark triad. So dark triad is there are three. So it's a trait of narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. And the reason why it's very important to detect people that are showing dark triad traits is because those people are masters at generating attraction. So everybody knows that narcissists are spending a lot of time and putting a lot of effort into looking good and being
what you want to see.
Being likable, yes, creating this illusion. And also another red flag here would be like love bombing, where within the very first week, and I think we talked about this, Hamza, right? Love bombing. Mm-hmm. So within the very first week, they're like, well, you are my destiny. I want to marry you. Let's move in together. Have my heart. Here's the ring and whatever.
Sounds like those Nigerian demons. Sorry, that's like a running joke. Like Yoruba demons. They'll be like, after the first week, I want to marry you. You're the love of my life. I cannot breathe without you. Continue. Sorry.
I love the accent. Yeah, you should talk more about this.
It's just a funny thing in our culture.
Yeah, I love when you are letting your like roots out.
Oh,
you sound more like authentic Nigerian.
Well, thank you. It's my fake accent, but thank you.
You can actually go quite far with this accent in acting.
Really?
Because sometimes when they need someone with this accent, they will reject everybody who doesn't have the accent.
That's true. I remember Idris Elba plays that. I think he played like a person with like an African accent. This man does not have an accent.
Yes. Cool. Okay, let's get back to our question. So the dark triad, it's people who possess those traits. They are masters of being attractive to people. At the same time, their motivation is somewhat different from somebody who is just naturally attractive to you because of the alignment in interest and so on. So the question is, how would you screen during the first date, or ideally earlier in the conversation, such that you don't waste time? How would you screen for those people, and how would you avoid people that possess the dark triad traits?
I feel like I can't definitely give like a scientific answer or a very educated answer on it per se. But I would definitely say like the way I feel like I would screen for like those three things that you said: narcissism, Machiavellism, and psychopath. Yeah, people that are psychopaths. Yeah, people that are like very like full of themselves in the sense that like they only see themselves. I also feel like people that are very selfish too. I feel like when someone's like selfish, I guess for me it's kind of easy to like pick up on. Just like it's sometimes even just by big basic things that they do and the way that they go about things, especially in a man. But yeah, I'm gonna let Hamza take that because I really want to know your answer, because I never thought of screening for these specific things, because it's funny actually. But let me actually put a little note in there. So like it's funny because like I feel like I have a pretty good emotional intelligence, but I also do a lot of reading on how to make people like you, and to also how to appeal to. No, seriously, I do a lot of like this type of like reading. So it's funny, like when you mention like, oh, people that like try to make people like them. I'm like, I read books on that. Like, that's what interests me. Like, I feel like it's kind of cool understanding like the human psyche in such a way to be like, hey, if I do these certain things, like this might be more attractive to this person. I feel like I don't do it more for like a dating aspect per se, but I feel like I do it more for like a making connections, me and the Khadija in the corporate world type of Khadija, as in like, okay, this is like what I feel like I do to like, for example, to work better with people, to help people do things for me, to just work better in groups. Like, I feel like that's why I do a lot of that reading, not necessarily for dating per se, but it's funny that you mentioned that because like I do a lot of research on that. So continue, Hamza.
Nice. Yeah, no, I mean, whenever I have a client who talks to me about certain qualities that they want to screen for, we always try to find out the opposite. Because if you straight up ask them, hey, are you a psychopath? They're probably not going to say yes and
They
tell you
won't,
the
yeah.
truth, right?
Yeah.
So what are the qualities that are opposite of these antisocial qualities? Empathy is one that's really good. Having good relationships with people in their life, and having long-lasting relationships too. Because if you're antisocial, you're gonna push people away. So first of all, how many relationships do they have in their life? How long-lasting are they? How do they deal with conflict? If someone is telling them a problem or something, how do they feel about that? Do they empathize? Do they try and come up with solutions, or do they just get annoyed and like don't want to hear it, right? Yeah. So you can ask them questions that lead into that kind of stuff. So like what's your relationship like with your parents? Do you have any siblings? Do you have any friends? What kind of stuff did you do in school? What kind of subjects were you interested in school, or like sports? Did you play team sports? Usually these people are not that good at playing team sports because they can't handle that they're not in full control, and that there are other factors outside of their control, right? So you want to screen for the things in their life that show the qualities that are the opposite of those antisocial qualities. The thing with Machiavellian people though is they're very, very good at like lying and pretending.
Yep.
So at the beginning they can give an amazing impression to you. They can pretend as if things are really awesome, but you'll notice as time goes on, the stuff they're saying doesn't add up. And this is why it's so important to find out if they have long-lasting friendships, because with a friend, you don't owe them anything. They don't owe you anything. You choose to interact with them.
Yeah.
So if they have a long-lasting like friendship and they have multiple, it shows that there are people choosing to interact with them over a long period of time. And that's something that a lot of these people don't have if they're Machiavellian too much, because they're too transactional, or just like antisocial and are like a psychopath or sociopath.
Interesting. Now, what about that whole question about there's someone out there for everybody?
There is.
There is.
No,
And,
there is or there isn't?
There is. And
No, there is.
I wonder who psychopaths are dating.
Yeah,
like it's,
makes me wonder too.
maybe they
Very anxious people.
Yeah, very anxious. It kind of goes back into or a bridge towards different attachment styles. Like codependency would be one of them. But hold on, before we do this, Erin has an answer for this, and I also wanted to recommend one more thing. It's the book called Psychopath Next Door, and unfortunately, there are 4% of population who are psychopaths.
4%.
Yes,
That's a big
and
sum.
4%.
That's a lot.
So
That's a lot of people.
out of 25 people, one is a psychopath. Okay. The reason why we have them though as human species is because back in the day when we were tribes, which wasn't so far long ago.
Okay.
So long ago, we needed someone to be able to sneak into the enemy tribe during the night and kill them, come back and don't have any
Don't feel bad about it.
We needed back in the day people like that, but only at small quantities. Okay.
I'm not you saying we need psychopaths in our lives.
Not in our lives, but to survive as collectively as a group.
Fair enough.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Someone's got to do it.
Someone got to do it.
Sorry, I was just thinking like what you said, and I was just thinking to myself that like you're right. Like I also, when I meet people, I ask what are their relationships with their friends. How often do you hang out with your friends? What's your relationship with them? What do you like about them? I guess I do those things subconsciously, but I guess that's why. Erin's
Yeah, you'll
answer.
notice, just to add on to that quickly, you'll notice a lot of the things you do are very calibrated because you're a woman, and women are just way more socially intelligent than guys. It's an evolutionary
Yeah.
reason, right?
Yes.
So,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. I guess there's science to back it up. Erin's answer. Narcissists are very good at hiding who they are until they have you in their trap. Be mindful of love bombing and things that sound too good to be true, especially in the beginning. Take it slow and really try to get to know this person on all sides of them, the good, the bad, the ugly. Do they have close friends? Talk to them and try to get some insight and heed any warnings that come up. Red flags.
Yep.
Thread lightly and be cautious. Keep your walls up and establish boundaries. Keep your walls up and establishing boundaries is smart and will keep you and your heart safe. Don't put yourself in vulnerable situations too quickly, such as moving in, having a child, or buying property together. Yeah, well, that sounds like what both of you said was pretty much very aligned.
Yeah. As soon as there is a new person coming up to you, you can leverage social networks to see who are people in common, and ask them, hey, what do you know about this person? So like my favorite advice here would be, like, I do a lot of reach outs on social media to like either record people or build networks and so on, maybe get together for some event. So my advice would be, hey, if you're getting a cold DM advice, you can go to the profile of the person who is sending you this invite, see who are people in common, and reach out to them. Hey, have you gotten invites from this person before? How are they? You know, what can I tell about them? So I think doing the homework before even going on a date, right? I think this is one reason why Erin mentions video call so much, is because during the video call there is not really much of a commitment, right?
Yeah.
But as soon as you are presenting yourself to the other person physically, it kind of makes sense to see, hey, do we have anybody in common who can vouch?
Yeah, that's true. But I guess if you used a lot of dating sites, a lot of people you're meeting, you probably don't have mutual friends with them unless somehow you have some crazy, interesting mutual hobbies or geographically located in this similar spots. So that's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Let's move on. The next question is about career and dating. So it goes like this. Like in modern world, there are so many opportunities to build your career up. And especially if you work for a corporation, then the corporations rarely give you like 9 to 5 schedules. They usually offer you more, and also they compensate for this. So it's very common for especially younger women who are focusing on their career to kind of spend their 20s just working hard, and dating requires effort. It requires time to screen, it requires time to go on dates and so on. So it becomes a choice. Like, do I do career or do I do dating? And when do I do dating? So the question is, what would be your advice, especially for young women who prioritize their career over dating life? Is there a specific age when it makes sense to shift focus away from the career to dating if they feel like managing both the career and dating is too overwhelming?
I feel like that's a question directed at me because I am a very career-driven person. And I guess my advice to women like me is, focus on your career because, your career is, at the end of the day, I feel like what's going to hold you up. Yeah. Even if you do have a hard time finding a man, or a man won't. And I feel like I don't want to say like a lot of times, but I feel like a lot of young women who are very career driven and they are successful in their field find it very hard to find men who are equal or surpass their level of success in their careers.
Yeah.
So my advice to them is like, just don't stop being career driven. Keep doing what you're doing, and yes, like definitely do, like I feel like dating apps is definitely a lot easier when you have a very busy schedule because you could just do it from your bed. Yeah. But definitely like going on these things, and I feel like when you're a career-driven woman, you meet a lot of great people in the career workplace. So I feel like if you're a career-driven person, utilize the locations that you're in when you're in your career. So like, I mean, like I told you, I'm an engineer. I met my boyfriend at an engineering convention. If you're a career-driven one, you mainly spend your time at work. Maybe scout for people at work, or if you get sent on a lot of business trips, you can also find people on business trips at the workplaces or stuff like that. I mean, I would just say like, don't try to do things outside of your schedule, especially if you find it very tough and that's just who you are. But try to like find these things and try to like, I guess, expand your schedule in such a way that like it correlates to the things that you're already doing. Because at the end of the day, that's how you're also going to find the people that you're also looking for. That's my advice. Hamza.
Yeah, that's good advice. It really depends on the individual. A lot of people give the cookie cutter advice to everyone. So you have to figure out what are your priorities? What do you want out of life? And what's the timeline for your goals, right? So if dating is going to set you back career-wise or set you back as far as your other goals go, then don't prioritize it as much. But if you prioritize like getting a partner or starting a family or anything else where you need to date, then I actually recommend a lot of women just take 2 weeks off from work, go on a date every single day, meeting like 10 to 14 guys.
It's new
And then
advice.
now you can figure out exactly the kind of guy that you like. And the reason why I say is do it in this short amount of time is you figure out what you like, first of all, very quickly. And then you can figure out from that group of people who you like the most. You can rank them from like 1 to 3 and then maybe keep on going on dates with the 3 guys and then pick one out of the 3. And it's really not that much of a time investment after going through all those dudes. But
That's
what a
true.
lot of people do,
It's a
and
lot
this
of
is why
time.
a lot of people are unhappy, is they go on maybe 14 dates over 2 years. And then
Mhm.
they realize,
That's true.
okay, the last few people I've seen are not that interesting. They're not that good of a fit for me. So actually, the first 3 guys were great fits, but now they're all in relationships. And then you end up with a situation where it's like you start to feel that you're never going to find the right person. And then like people who are workaholics or people who prioritize their work or other stuff more are just going to keep pouring themselves into that, and they're going to be unhappy with the emotional side. So that's why I say just take 2 weeks off, date a bunch of people, pick the best few out of the bunch, pursue, like let them pursue you, especially as a woman who wants a traditional relationship. You can just let them pursue you, not do that much effort, and then see who makes it out as the number one.
I love it. And
2 weeks, even if you're a 9 to 5, 5 days a week person.
Use your 2-week vacation on.
yeah, just
Yeah, I'm
take
like,
vacation and you're going to save money on dinners. Think
There you
about
go.
this.
I mean, yes, but I'd like to use my vacation time on travel and stuff like that. Not
Priorities. All boils down to priorities.
That's funny. I guess my priority's a little different. Okay, but I'm also in a relationship, so I guess I'm not too bothered. Erin's answer. I highly encourage women who are career focused but still want to have families someday to freeze their egg. Sorry, I need to start over.
That's a
That's
very
good
common.
advice too.
That's a very common thing in
No,
in
because
the
I've
area.
gotten that advice from my cousin, and she's like, "You should freeze your eggs if you don't want to have children anytime soon." I'm like, Erin's answer. I highly encourage women who are career focused but still want to have families someday to freeze their eggs. This takes the urgency out and allows them to take their time growing their careers and choosing the right partner without pressure. It's best to do this in your 20s, if possible, or early 30s for optimal retrieval. If this isn't an option, it is still possible to have a thriving career and motherhood simultaneously. Just make sure to choose the right support system. Yeah, especially if you have good friends, family, grandma and grandpa. Great, they're retired. All they got is time. Yeah,
True.
that's good advice.
Yeah, freezing eggs is a very common thing. Pretty much any large company in Bay Area, they, as I mentioned, those corporations incentivize you to go as hard as you can on your career, and in return they give you like fertility support.
My
Yeah.
last job had that. My job now, they don't care. My last job I think they gave you like, God, I think it was like $15K for just anything fertility related. Whether if it was you wanted to put it towards a surrogate. Wait, how much was it? Actually, it might have been 125. But nonetheless, it was like if you wanted to put it towards a surrogate, or if you wanted to like get in vitro, or if you wanted to freeze your eggs, they were like, here's a whole bunch of money. Do what you want.
Yeah.
That's smart as
Yeah.
a business to do that.
Yeah.
Very common here. I don't know if 15,000 would be enough though. So
Yeah, it might have been 100 something. I forget, but
100 is
it was a lump sum of money. I remember looking at this and I was like, that's wild.
$100,000 probably is what it takes to use technology to make people know.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, you see.
cheaper than bringing someone in while someone's away on like maternity leave.
When do you feel like you're ready to get intimate with the person?
I feel so bad for answering this. I'm Gen Z. I feel like we don't waste time getting intimate with somebody. You mean like intimate, like as in like emotional wise or physically?
The question was specifically about sexual intimacy.
I mean, I feel like it's definitely good to wait to be intimate with someone. Okay, let me rephrase my advice. I feel like if you go, definitely you should not be intimate with someone on the first date. That's like a no-go. First, second, maybe even third. However,
So how many dates?
Yeah, I would say like I definitely wait until like the third or fourth date.
You know about 3 dates rule, right?
3 days rule?
3 dates. Yeah.
3 dates rule, yeah. Oh, I guess I don't know about that, but I guess what I'm saying is aligning with that. But yeah, I would say like definitely wait until like at least like the third date at the very least. But also at the same time too, I personally would hold off with being intimate with someone, especially if you really like that person.
Okay.
However, I have girlfriends who are very like, they would never admit this, but if their partner is not good intimately, they will never like them. They will try to convince themselves that they do, but later down the line, it's a subconscious thing for them that they don't realize that they need. So I feel like if you're like one of those kind of people where intimacy is like very important for you and how well it is, maybe you want to speed up being intimate and not wait like 6 months or 3 months or whatever until like you get intimate with them, if that is a priority for you. But I would say wait at least 3 dates. Hamza?
Yeah, I agree with you. It's definitely a case-by-case basis, depending on your personality, how quickly attached you get, and like what you want out of the relationship too. But I would say as a general rule, and it was good that you differentiated between physical and emotional intimacy. As a general rule, a man should try to get as physically intimate as possible with a woman as quickly as possible. And then a woman should try and get as much emotional intimacy from the guy as possible.
Yeah, as quickly.
Because that it's just like the other person is investing more, and then there's a switch that goes off psychologically that just makes you more valued and whatnot when they're investing in that way.
Okay, I like that. Yeah, okay.
But I would say though, like if you're looking for something long term, the longer you go before getting intimate, the better, because you want to understand the person's like personality and where they're coming from first, and you don't want the intimacy to interfere with your judgment of them.
Unless it's trash, then you'll probably leave immediately. Or you'll stay in it to try to get to know them better and train them. Erin's answer. Lust will disguise itself as love in the beginning. There's no ideal time to wait to be intimate. You have to go by how comfortable you feel with someone. The more time spent, the stronger the foundation and trust continues to build. I think it's important to know that usually when women are intimate, a bond begins to form with that person, making it harder for her to emotionally detach. That's a very vulnerable place to be. So it benefits the woman to be aware of that from the beginning before getting intimate. But it's a personal choice at the end of the day. You have to do what feels right. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's personal. It's a personal choice because people are looking for different things in the relationship.
Yeah.
Okay, and for some, I'm one of those people for whom if I don't feel fulfillment and excitement during and after physical intimacy with my partner, it probably won't go anywhere. You see, so like I side with Hamza's advice that as men are looking for to get to physical intimacy the fastest, women usually get to emotional intimacy the fastest.
Yeah.
So and those are not really, it's not really a competition. You see,
Sounds like yin and yang.
yeah, this is where, you know, the beauty of relationship comes through. So here's the question: what are some tips to keep healthy boundaries in a secure, committed relationship? So assuming that relationship exists for a while now, and maybe people are trying to either spice it up, and they're trying to figure out what the boundaries are, or it just maybe a sign of something unhealthy, and the other person is trying to understand, hey, if I set the boundaries properly, is it going to improve the relationship, or do I need to do something else, like maybe breaking up?
So here's the thing. I feel like it's first important to know if you're someone who values boundaries too much or not. I mean, like people always say, oh, have your boundaries, but like some people really don't have boundaries, and that's fine for them. And even having partners that don't have a ton of boundaries is also just not a deal breaker for them. So I feel like if you're someone who definitely like values boundaries, such as like, hey, don't touch me on the first date, like I feel like it's kind of good to like set that precedence and like your mannerism and the way that you act. I feel like if you value boundaries, then you have to be able to also have your own boundaries. Like for example, if you're someone who says that like, oh, I'm not gonna have sex with them on the first date, but then you go to the date and then you brush up against their knee and you get a little too close to them and you like laugh and you brush out from them where you're gonna go use the bathroom, like what message are you sending? So I feel like if you want to receive boundaries, you also have to give boundaries in return. Well, did I say that right? If you want someone to basically have boundaries towards you, then you also have to have boundaries for yourself. Hamza?
Makes sense. Yeah. See, the boundary setting is very interesting because we talk about this with clients a lot because of the different attachment styles. So if you're trying to set a boundary with someone who is more avoidant, a lot of the times they may not discuss that with you fully. So they may just say, yeah, sure, sounds good. And then internally they're freaking out, or internally they don't like it, but outwardly they're just trying to avoid conflict. So the boundary setting needs to be done in a way that the other person can comprehend, and there needs to be enough trust and communication and like openness built up so that they can tell you how they feel when you drop the boundary. But yeah, you don't want to be hypocritical. If you want to set boundaries with someone else, you should be accepting of their boundaries as well, and vice versa. It just depends on what type of boundary it is and how you communicate it as well.
Wonderful. Yeah, and I think setting boundaries is also something that can be facilitated with the help of either therapy or a third person who is specifically trained. Like say, maybe you are doing this with your clients, Hamza. So if you don't feel comfortable opening up about boundaries, it may be something deeply personal to you, then having the mediator step in and set the framework to talk about this might also help. Cool. Okay. Well, thanks much, Hamza. Like I know it's almost like midnight for you. So thank you for staying so late and going over questions. We do have more, but probably we'll just do it without you. Anything you wanted to close on?
Less than a minute.
Just be the best version of yourself and strive for that.
Amazing.
Love it. Communicate that. Yeah.
Right. Hamza, thank you much. Thank you much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Nice meeting you. Bye.
So Erin's answer? By stating them up front, starting from the first few dates, make it known that you will and will not tolerate in a relationship. By stating them up front, starting from the first few dates, make it known what you will and will not tolerate in a relationship. I encourage you to ask the other person the same, so you are aware of his or her boundaries as well. Mutual respect and trust is what strengthens any relationship.
Yeah, I think if there is no respect and trust in the relationship, which is very important.
Very important.
Yeah, then you're just guys wasting time. Okay, there are lots of games you can play. Okay,
a lot of games. If you like playing games, then fine, play games.
But then it's not really a relationship.
No, it's not.
Playing games.
It's called a fling.
Yeah. All right. So now imagine you've met someone at a bar. When is it appropriate to bring up relationship goals in face-to-face conversation without, making it in an elegant way, without embarrassing yourself, without looking too needy?
Yeah, actually, on that note, I'd like to build off of kind of like what Erin said in one of her previous answers, where you don't want go into a relationship with no expectations.
Yeah.
Because I think it's very important, definitely for the first date, to just be yourself. Just be you. Don't say that, oh, like this is what I want out of my partner. And I feel, I know I don't fall within this category, but I feel like that's something that older people tend to do a lot more because they don't want to waste their time. But I feel like when you go into a first date, second date, don't go into it with the mentality that, hey, I hope I'm not wasting my time again. Like that needs to get cut out. You just need to be yourself and allow the other person to also be themselves too.
Mhm.
And I also feel like it just takes a certain amount of intelligence in a way too, to be able to sort of say, for example, like kind of like how Hamza was saying, that like if you want someone as a leader, you don't have to go up and ask him, hey, are you a leader? No, it's from certain other questions, such as like, oh, well, like the normal question, what do you do for work?
Yeah.
How do you like it? What are like your favorite things about it? And from people's answers to certain things, you can kind of gauge these traits. I feel
Okay.
like I feel like you don't have to directly ask someone, are you a leader? Are you a God-fearing person? Do you respect women? Do you beat women? Do you do like just like those, like seriously, like it's like you don't, like if you ask people those questions straight up, of course they're gonna give you the answer that you want because they can see that's what you want. So you feel like you have to like find a way to mold different questions in such a way that you're able to pick out the information that you need. It's almost like an interview. I feel like all people do this on interviews, like job interviews, where you try to obviously be the person that your employer wants you to be, but a good interviewer will be able to read between the lines. Same with dating.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, like, to me, if a person talks about things that they want to instill in my perception about them, to me, it's a red flag, honestly. So bragging is never attractive.
Yeah.
Okay, bragging is never attractive. It's much better to see if the person is a leader. It's much better to see what they are into. It's much better to hear from somebody else good things about them or bad things about them compared to asking them about this and maybe getting a lie or whatever.
People can talk all they want, but like some people are all talk and no action. So on my first date with my husband, I laid out exactly what I wanted down to a timeline. I wanted it to be clear that I was dating to marry, not for fun or casually. If he had not been open to this, we would have had a great date, but not continued seeing each other. Since he was looking for the same thing, we kept dating and eventually got married. Don't waste anyone's time to pretending to be casual when you're looking for a long-term commitment. Be fully transparent and always remember you can't say the wrong thing to the right person.
Beautiful.
Okay, yeah, that's true. What's meant for you will never pass you by. I'm a strong believer of that.
Okay, speaking of timelines, there are a couple questions. So one question is when is it appropriate to bring up the topic of exclusivity? So imagine you are like, you hit it off, right? And you're thinking, hey, should we go exclusive or is it a fling? So when is it appropriate to bring this topic? And then I think there is a similar question about when is it appropriate to announce that you guys are together?
In the topic of exclusivity, I feel like that kind of goes very hand in hand with the previous question, meaning that like making your intentions clear. If you plan to be like long term with someone, it's nice. It's a good idea to hint to them that like, hey, like I want like an exclusive partner. I feel like it's no problem to just kind of rumble that out at some point during your conversation, so that if that other person does prefer not exclusive relationships and that's how they plan to marry, then you can make it known. I will I will also say that also people will also tell you what you want to hear.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah,
I'm African and I'm also Muslim.
Okay.
So it's very common in African culture for men to take multiple wives, same as Islam. And a lot of, I would say, African men form all fault to this. They won't tell you that they want multiple wives. It'll just be one day they bring a woman home and be like, I plan to marry her. What are you going to do about it?
She's going to be number 3.
Exactly. So I feel like also at that time too, like there's no way to truly, I guess, avoid another partner that like wants a non-exclusive relationship, because sometimes you can never see it coming.
Yeah.
But I would definitely say definitely just kind of making it known from the beginning. That's what I would recommend. And then what was the next question?
When is it appropriate to announce that you are in a committed relationship with someone? So when do you feel like it's time?
When they ask you out.
So right away.
Well, no, I don't mean when they ask you out. Because okay, sorry. So in our Gen Z generation, there's a meet the person, there's the talking stage, and then from person to person, it depends on if you want to be exclusive during the talking stage. And then from there, they ask you, hey, do you want to be my girlfriend or my boyfriend or whatever the case may be? And then that's, I feel like, when it truly becomes, if you like exclusive relationships, that's when it becomes exclusive. Now, the talking stage, that differs from person to person. I know a lot of females who took offense because the guy that they were talking to, the guy that never asked them out, they didn't see it as exclusive. Yeah. So, for my generation.
Okay, that's cute. That's
not sure about to say that's cute.
Fascinating. Okay, and that's the Gen Z dynamics. Because I'm a millennial, you see, so
yeah,
it's something I'm learning about the newer folks. But my personal interest would be imagine you are in the talking stage, whatever it is, right? And then you do imagine you like a guy, but you are talking, and he has all the qualities you like.
Okay.
But it's just talking, and maybe it comes to just hanging out together as a group of people or as friends. But there is never a direct, hey, you want to go out with me romantically? So he never asks you out formally. Is it a turn off for you?
If I truly like the person, really they definitely saw a lot of things about them that I could definitely see myself being remotely long term, or I could want to pursue something a little bit more long term. And I'm not talking about marriage or anything. If they're not interested in me, then I just keep it moving. I don't spend time trying to be interested in someone who's not interested in me. Then I'm just deceiving myself. Now, can I speak for all women? No, because some people don't know when they're deceiving themselves. But it has to be mutual. And then actually, funny enough, advice that my dad always gave me is and feel free to disagree, but I feel like for any relationship, at least that I get into, the guy has to like me more than I like him.
Okay.
Seriously, I feel like I'm a very strong believer of that statement, because I feel like I see a lot of relationships where the woman is more invested in the relationship.
Yeah.
And kind of like how Hamza said, guys, they don't know how to vocalize how they feel. So they just start acting different and they start doing different things. Worst case scenario, maybe they cheat, but I wouldn't even say a lot of guys are oh, they're going to shoot to cheating, but they'll just act a little bit differently. They won't be as interested as they used to be. Your conversation won't be as long and engaged as it used to be. And then that's when the woman's damn, I need to get out of this. So that's why I say that. I feel like if the guy is more invested in the relationship, at least mentally, then I feel like the relationship is definitely more prone to work out, because us females, we notice those changes a lot quicker than men do.
Yes, this is true. But also, it sounds like, well, you clearly talk for yourself in this case, because there might be other preferences here. But whoever needs the other person more is usually less powerful in the relationship. You see, because if
less powerful,
yes. If you are more needy, you're less powerful. If you are less needy,
that comes from a codependence aspect. I feel like that's kind of separate.
Next question is about codependency. I was kind of bringing it up to
gotcha.
This. There's clearly other types of attachment. Where it's not just exchange of power, and whoever calls first, let's not text each other for 2 days and see who
none of that
breaks
that's
this.
Childish. That was so middle school.
But you bringing up the fact that, hey, you want the guy to like you more than you like the guy. To me, it sounds like you do prefer, maybe more position of more where you still have more maybe options and more choice in the relationship.
Okay, yeah, maybe. I guess if I was 35 or 40 and unmarried, then I guess my perspective would change. I am still 23, so I am talking like a 23-year-old. Sorry, but
I think it fits overall the picture of like you like when the guy shows affection towards you, and you like
that's attractive to me.
yeah, you like being chased. You are more traditional, and you like so. A lot of guys do that, and unfortunately, because they have a bit less social cues and they just overall not as good socially calibrated, then it comes off needy. So they message you like, okay, how was your day? Like, what are you doing tonight? Not tonight. Okay, what about tomorrow? When are we going to go out? You see, so all this too much attention to you, and you go bored really quick with them.
No. So that's where I have to stop you. So
Okay.
I feel so like girls are always or women are always talking about, oh, like, yeah, that guy's too needy.
Yeah.
But what people don't realize is if we're complaining about a guy that's too needy, we probably don't like him very much. If it's a guy that you are truly interested in, if he texts you every day, that's your expectation. That's what you're going to love. You're going to love attention from someone who you also are very interested in. If you're like halfway interested, if a guy's like texting you every day, hey, what are you doing? When's the next time we can hang out? Oh, I loved hanging out with you yesterday. Like, I would love it if we can do it again. If it's a guy you're interested in, you're just going to eat it all up. Now, if you're not that interested, then it's a whole nother story.
Awesome. I think it's a very good point to summarize. It is okay to show affection, to maybe even chase a bit, and to feel vulnerable and needy with the woman who reciprocates.
Yes,
So
exactly.
If she likes you, then she's worth all that attention.
Yeah. And she'll
Love it.
reciprocate it too.
Yeah.
But I can't say immediately with all women, but definitely in time.
Love it. Okay, so now another topic, another question, and it's a very very serious and maybe to the point a bit alarming, because we do see a lot of codependent relationships those days. And if you Google codependency, that's what I've done. The very first thing that Google gives you is there is a helpline for codependent people.
Wow.
And the reason for the helpline is because I guess codependency is just so emotionally overwhelming that when the person you codepend on leaves your relationship, then it might lead to consequences that nobody wants. So codependency is a theory that attempts to explain imbalanced relationships where one person enables another person's self-destructive behavior. Addiction, poor mental health, immaturity, irresponsibility, or underachievement. Definition of codependency vary, but typically includes self-sacrifice, a focus on others' needs, suppression of one's own emotions, and attempts to control or fix other people's problems. It's one of the modes of attachment, one of the modes of relationship, and it sits together with, well, firstly, Machiavellism. And the dark triad.
Narcissism and
psychopathy. So I think it's more like usually if you're dating a psychopath, then probably they will let you down in the relationship by making you feel like you are not good enough.
Yeah.
Also, there is not equality, but parallel with different power dynamics within a relationship, because like there is, again, you mentioned BDSM, for example, right?
Yeah.
Or there is feminine energy and a masculine energy, and there is an idea of like submissiveness and dominance. Okay, which healthy amount of each is okay, especially if it is for the sake of enjoying each other's time, right?
Okay.
This is what BDSM is doing. Okay. At the same time, if it elevates to the point where in real life the person of dominant nature puts the person of submissive nature down psychologically, it's not good, and that's codependency.
Yeah.
Okay, and therefore we have the helpline, and Google brings it up. So, anyways, let me get back to the question: how people end up, firstly, in codependent relationship, and whether there are ways to screen for them and prevent this from happening, because it's not healthy, at least for one side of this relationship.
You're in a tough cookie right there, because like the minute that other partner leaves, you're gonna just feel terrible for a very long time. And I feel like people who are in uneven codependent relationships, and when they do break apart, they find themselves very emotionally detached and emotionally broken for a while. And how do you prevent it? Man, a lot of times you don't know you're in it until it's too late.
Yeah, until it's too late.
Until it's too late. Therapy.
Mm.
That at that point, that's what I would say. I
Yeah.
would say, like, I feel like it's very important for everybody to go through at least a little bit of relationship therapy.
Therapy, yes, but even if you don't have access to therapy, talking to other people, especially if they either experience something like this and they
That's true.
got out of it in some way, or just somebody who has lots of common sense,
Yeah.
it would help.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Erin's answer. Ooh. I was in a codependent relationship for years. You don't realize you're in one until it's too late. That's what I said.
That's what you said.
I allowed his life to consume mine, focusing only on him and what makes him happy. If you tend to be a people pleaser, you are more susceptible to codependency. It is very important to maintain your self-care, your wants and desires, to have hobbies and enjoy, and friends you spend time with outside of the relationship. Don't spend 24/7 together, and make sure to put your basic needs first, not on the back burner for your partner. Addicts tend to attract people pleasers. So be aware of this when dating. Oh, wow. That's scary. Addicts tend to be people pleasers. That's a new one.
Yeah, that's a new one. I had no idea about this.
Yeah, I did not know that either. Wow.
Yeah.
That's kind of scary.
Love it. Okay, it's also getting late for us. We have one last question.
Okay.
I don't know if any of us can relate to this, but we'll do our best. So it's a question about the asexual relationship.
Okay.
So there are different modes of relationship, and we live in the multipolar world where anybody can be anybody, anything they want, and also relationships can be whatever. And one of them is a relationship without having physical intimacy. So one person, a friend of mine, those questions are anonymous, so I'm going to respect anonymity. So a friend of mine is asking, is it possible for an asexual person to find a loving, monogamous, and romantic relationship which is identical to marriage, but no intimacy?
I'll be honest, I cannot speak on that too much, but I am a strong believer that there is somebody out there for everybody.
For everybody.
Now, whether you find them in your lifetime or not, that's between you and your creator. But I will read Erin's answer because I feel like it's nice. Absolutely. A lasting relationship is more than just physical connection. What's most important is that both parties are on the same page and want the same thing. Anything is possible when you have understanding. That goes for all relationships, though. That definitely goes for like all relationships.
It does. And I think the fundamental principle here is compatibility of interests and mutual respect and trust.
Yeah.
And everything else will just come with this.
I agree with that.
Awesome, guys. This was the 5 finale of the second season of Sublime Podcasts. Hope you liked it. And I'm working on the 3rd season already. There are a couple episodes in. They need to be produced. I probably will take a break to record more stuff and, do more cool things with cool people while I'm through my podcast.
Huh? You're very cool yourself, too. It's very interesting.
Appreciate this. Follow Hamza. Reach out to him. He gives 15 minutes free consultations. Also follow Erin, order her book, and subscribe. Subscribe to our content. Follow us. This is the best way you can support creators like me, creators like Khadija, and creators like everybody else who I had on my podcast. And I'll see you in the season 3. Cheers.
Cheers.